Asahina Wakaba is a timid young girl. This morning, she wakes up feeling disheveled and overwhelmed by laziness. She dreads mornings, lacking a compelling reason to face each new day. Despite her reluctance, she forces herself out of bed, fearing that others might question her if she stays in her room too long. Heading to the bathroom, she turns on the faucet and catches a glimpse of her messy reflection in the mirror. As she touches the glass, she mutters that she can't possibly look this unkempt when she sees her family. After preparing herself, Asahina steps out of her room. Her heart races with nervousness and embarrassment about facing her family that morning. The family is already gathered in the dining room. Asahina gently turns the doorknob, opens the door, and sees everyone seated at the table. She emerges with a bright smile, concealing her anxiety deep within. Asahina greets everyone warmly. Her father comments on how happy she looks today, while her mother suggests it might be because she slept well. Her twin sister, Asahina Futaba, speculates that Asahina's cheerful mood could be due to the beautiful, sunny weather. Asahina takes a seat at the dining table beside Futaba. They both glance at the sunlight pouring through the windows, appreciating the clear, sunny day. Futaba comments on how lovely the weather is, and Asahina, smiling, agrees, noting that after a week of rain, a sunny day is quite refreshing. Their father mentions that he can't stand the rain because it always makes him shiver. Futaba laughs loudly as their father jokingly imitates shivering. Their mother then reminds them to concentrate on finishing their meal. Futaba tells Asahina that she might end up being late for school. Asahina agrees, but first asks her father about something he bought the previous day. Feeling embarrassed, her father admits it, and Asahina jokes that he's too old to be buying model figurines. Futaba thinks that even though their parents are in their 40s, their playful behavior hasn't changed much. Their father tells Asahina and Futaba that men have their own fantasies and offers to give Wakaba a lesson about them. Realizing they are running late, Futaba and Asahina quickly rush out of the house. Futaba heads off to her school, which is 3 stations away. Asahina feels relieved that she attends a different school, thinking it would be awkward if people knew they were twins. However, her happiness fades as she anticipates the challenges ahead, feeling like it might be a personal nightmare. Asahina sits quietly in her seat at school now. She appears downcast and doesn't display any strong emotions. She listens to the discussions in class, her head lowered in silence. 3 students sit across from her, talking about Asahina as though she were an honor student who always arrives early. The main speaker is Nane Sakumi, a dominant presence in the class. Beside her are Shuji Ria and Torai Makimi. Shuji comments that Asahina only keeps company with her notebook and adds that she is the complete opposite of Nane's. Torai Maki notes that Asahina must be doing something right, as she never stands up against their bullying. Asahina sits in silence, her head lowered as she endures the relentless bullying from the 3 of them. She can feel the weight of their words pressing down on her, and with every passing moment, the question lingers in her mind. When will this ever end? All she wants is a normal school life, where she can laugh and connect with others without the constant fear of being ridiculed. Yet, over time, she has found herself isolated, with only a handful of friends, and she understands that her own personality plays a significant role in this. Asahina has always had the feeling that everyone around her is laughing at her, judging her, and making her the subject of their mockery. In her mind, she once imagined school as a place of joy, a space where she could grow and form meaningful connections. However, the reality has proven to be far from what she had hoped for, and now, all she can do is quietly endure the harshness of her situation, feeling more and more detached from the world around her. Nane slams her hand on Asahina's desk, making Asahina flinch in fear. Nane glares sharply at her, and Asahina, feeling intimidated, looks away and apologizes. Nane then tells her that her gloomy and distant demeanor has upset her. She adds that Asahina's attitude comes across as too arrogant and superior to others, which she finds unpleasant. In an act of anger, Nane grabs Asahina's hair, causing her pain. The bell rings, signaling the start of break. Asahina grabs her lunch bag and leaves the classroom, her head always lowered. Nanace, Shuji, and Toraimaki watch her from the window. Asahina walks outside to the small area behind the classroom. She sits down and opens her lunchbox, feeling a sense of peace in the quiet surroundings. Despite the chill, she feels a bit better. While opening her lunch, Asahina imagines being at home with her parents and little sister. She realizes she finds no joy in school. In fact, she no longer wants to attend, but doesn't want to worry her family by telling them. Suddenly, a loud noise catches her attention, causing her to flinch. Looking through the grass, she sees Bison Ryochi, Nakagawa Shun, and Iruma Haruto. They seem to be arguing, their disagreement escalating. Nakagawa tells Ryochi to stay calm and advises Haruto not to pick a fight with him without reason. Asahina recognizes them as the Big Three at school. Nakagawa holds the top spot, consistently ranking first in exams and even achieving high scores in national exams. The second is Bison, an athlete with exceptional speed. It only took him half a year to make the soccer team, and he has a personal servant always attending to him. On the other hand, no one likes Iruma. He is seen as unattractive, overweight, and unpleasant. He was even expelled once for playing inappropriate games. Asahina keeps watching their interactions, pondering what makes their conversation so engaging that they can laugh so openly. She contrasts it with her own experience, where she never truly smiles at school. She feels like she is stuck in her circumstances. With that thought, Asahina quickly finishes her lunch, eating it hungrily to push aside her feelings. Nanace, Shuji, and Toraimaki are strolling through the school grounds. Nanace expresses how bored she feels and how she dislikes the silence. She craves something more exciting. Suddenly, they're interrupted by the sound of an argument between Bison and Iruma. Nanace and her friends are puzzled about what the two are fighting about this morning. Bison is accompanied by a woman, his servant, who mentions she has prepared a bento with carriage for him. However, Iruma seems more eager to hear about the food. He complains that the world is unfair, questioning how Bison can have a servant. Bison explains that he views his servant as family, like an older sister and mother to him. Iruma shouts that he's disappointed he can't make his 3D dreams come true, expressing his desire to marry two women. Nanace and Shuji feel disgusted by Iruma's lewd thoughts so early in the day. At that moment, Nanace has a flash of inspiration. She recalls Asahina and comes up with a devious plan involving her. The classroom door swings open, and Nanace enters. Asahina glances toward the door. Nanace is warmly welcomed by everyone in the class, making Asahina feel left out. Nanace approaches Asahina and says she has something interesting for her. Asahina feels pleased that Nanace is being kind to her. She walks over to Nanace, who hands her a beautiful ornament. Asahina is happy, enjoying the beauty of the ornament. But as she admires it, someone unexpectedly pushes her from behind, causing the ornament to fall to the ground and break. Nanace pretends to be very upset, putting on a dramatic display. Asahina, feeling guilty, apologizes. Nanace tells her that she must do something to make up for it. Asahina agrees, and Nanace comes up with a punishment game. She orders Asahina to confess to Iruma that she likes him. Asahina is shocked and pressured, as she absolutely doesn't want to do it. Asahina envisions Iruma, who constantly has inappropriate thoughts, and she feels a deep sense of fear. Now, Nanace is asking her to become Iruma's girlfriend, which is incredibly humiliating. Asahina asks Nanace why she has to make such a confession. Nanace replies that she wants to see a cockroach with that pig. Asahina is taken aback, feeling overwhelmed by the situation. Nanace threatens to tell her parents that Asahina broke the beautiful ornament. Asahina doesn't want her family to find out that she's in trouble. Deep down, she yearns for freedom and wants to confess her feelings to someone she truly likes, not be forced into a relationship with someone like Iruma, who is hated by everyone at school. She also doesn't have the 10,000 yen required to replace Nanace's ornament. Asahina feels she has no choice but to comply. Asahina sits with her head bowed low, consumed by a deep sorrow. Nanace, on the other hand, laughs quietly as she watches Asahina from behind. Nakagawa enters class 4 and calls out to Iruma, saying that his girlfriend is present. Asahina, feeling incredibly embarrassed, lowers her head, avoiding looking at anything around her. Iruma walks in happily and looks around, asking who Asahina is. Asahina stays seated silently at her desk. Iruma is accompanied by Bison, who senses that something is wrong in the classroom. Nanace is taken aback by Bison's presence with Iruma. Nanace drags Asahina and forces her to face Iruma. Iruma asks what Asahina wants from him. Summoning her courage, Asahina pushes herself to make a confession. Nanace tells Iruma that Asahina has secretly liked him all this time. Iruma assumes it's just a joke. Nanace insists that Asahina really likes him. Iruma is taken aback and feels pleased. Asahina takes a deep breath, thinking she can always tell Iruma later that it was just a prank. Though trembling, she quickly clenches her hands and, with a shaky voice, tells Iruma that she likes him. Iruma stands still, clearly stunned. Bison tells Asahina that she deserves someone better than Iruma. He pulls Iruma away, but Iruma struggles and pleads with Asahina to be his girlfriend. Bison then drags Iruma out of the classroom, but Asahina stops them, declaring that she will be Iruma's girlfriend. Iruma is thrilled, overwhelmed with happiness, and celebrates internally. Asahina, on the other hand, grips her skirt tightly, trying to conceal her trembling hands from Iruma. She feels deep guilt for deceiving him. Nanace applauds and congratulates Asahina. Iruma asks if Nanace is a friend of Asahina's, and Nanace lies, saying she is a close friend of Asahina. Bison, still waiting, urges Iruma to return to class. Iruma is about to ask Nanace something, but decides against it, pressured by Bison. Iruma then invites Asahina to walk home with him after school and introduces her to his friends. He is soon dragged away by Bison, leaving the classroom. Asahina sits down, overwhelmed by a heavy feeling in her chest. Nanace and her friends laugh heartily, gossiping about Asahina. Asahina remains silent, holding back all of her emotions. Today Asahina has told a lie. She doesn't want to cause any harm, so she plans to keep up the lie for a while. After school, Asahina meets Iruma, who is in high spirits and eager to introduce her to his friends. Despite the fear inside her, Asahina battles it with all her strength, trying her best not to let anyone down. After Asahina confessed to Iruma, rumors about them quickly spread. When Asahina left the classroom, everyone's eyes were on her. She walked up to Iruma, who introduced her to Nakagawa and Bison. Nakagawa, a childhood friend of Iruma, greeted Asahina with a friendly smile and introduced himself. Bison, Iruma's longtime partner in crime, didn't smile but still introduced himself to her. Asahina introduced herself in return to both Nakagawa and Bison. Iruma praised Asahina, saying her name was lovely. Nakagawa remarked on how Iruma had only just learned Asahina's full name. Bison clarified that they had only met recently. Then, Bison suggested to Nakagawa that they leave, giving Iruma the chance to walk with Asahina alone. Asahina commented that it seemed like Iruma was very close with his friends. Iruma smiled and replied that they had been friends for a long time, and because of that, he felt completely comfortable around them, able to say anything without hesitation. He then gestured for Asahina to go ahead and start walking home. As Asahina began to leave, she took one last glance toward the window of her classroom on the second floor. Through the glass, she saw Nanace, who appeared to be watching her closely. A wave of unease washed over Asahina as she remembered what Nanace had said earlier. That Iruma might try to do something inappropriate, given his dirty thoughts. The weight of Nanace's words lingered in Asahina's mind, and she couldn't help but feel anxious about what might happen next. Asahina feels that Iruma is really trying hard to keep the conversation going between them. He makes an effort to break the ice, but Asahina struggles to answer his questions. Her thoughts are all over the place throughout the walk. She can't help but think that Iruma might see her as a boring girl for not responding more enthusiastically. Iruma mentions that his house is further down the road, so he can walk alone from there. He also asks where Asahina lives. The moment of parting is drawing near, and Asahina feels that the day is soon to end in her mind. However, just before they are about to separate, Iruma asks if she would like to go on a date with him on Saturday. Asahina feels trapped, with no choice but to agree. Saturday arrives. Asahina waits for Iruma at a park. This is her first date with a boy. It should be a meaningful moment in her life, but she feels like she's ruining it because everything is based on a lie. Asahina secretly hopes for heavy rain so that the date would be cancelled. After waiting for 15 minutes, she finally sees Iruma, who is already waiting by a fountain. He waves his hand at her. Everyone around her notices, and Asahina feels extremely embarrassed. Iruma apologizes, mentioning that the weather is too cold for a proper date, but he promises to do his best to make Asahina feel comfortable. Iruma invites Asahina to one of the cinemas nearby. He asks her which movie she would like to watch, and Asahina points to the latest trending film. Iruma quickly buys the tickets and tells Asahina to go inside the theater first to avoid the cold. Asahina feels surprised. She has never been treated this way, except by her family. She starts to feel that Iruma is a kind-hearted guy. They sit side by side in the theater. Asahina remembers that Futaba once shared how she had a bad experience with the trailers for this film. It's been a long time since Asahina watched a movie, so she decides to try her best to enjoy it. She is deeply focused on the scenes unfolding on the screen. Suddenly, Iruma's hand brushes against Asahina's. Asahina gasps, causing a startled reaction from everyone in the room. Iruma, equally shocked, keeps apologizing. Asahina starts to think that it might not have been entirely Iruma's fault. After all, touching hands is a common thing for couples. They resume watching the movie, but once it's over, Asahina quickly gets up from her seat. Iruma follows her from behind. Iruma feels bad for Asahina, realizing that he might have treated her poorly. He sincerely apologizes, explaining that he has no experience with romance. Iruma then tries to persuade Asahina to go for lunch or do some window shopping. Asahina agrees. They start walking around the mall, and suddenly, Iruma points at something, saying that Asahina will surely like it. It turns out, Iruma has bought tickets for a play zone. Asahina is amazed by the various attractions and games available there. Iruma smiled warmly as he encouraged Asahina to choose the game she wanted to play. Asahina, feeling slightly out of her element, hesitated for a moment. She had never visited a place like this before, and the wide range of games left her a bit confused. Noticing her uncertainty, Iruma offered to guide her through the options, assuring her that it would be fun. Despite his offer, Asahina insisted on paying for the game tickets herself, wanting to contribute since Iruma had already covered the cost of the movie tickets. She felt a bit guilty for not being able to repay him in another way. However, Iruma gently declined her offer, reassuring her that she could save her money for drinks and food later. His tone was casual, but there was a sincerity in his eyes that made Asahina feel at ease. Iruma couldn't help but feel a warm sensation in his chest, slightly flustered by Asahina's thoughtfulness. Despite knowing her for only a short time, her kindness and consideration made him feel a deeper connection to her. It was something he hadn't expected, but it made him appreciate her even more. The first game they choose is a trivia machine. Iruma shows Asahina how it works, explaining that she just needs to touch the screen to select the correct answer for each question. He assures her that it's a perfect game for beginners. Asahina is amazed by the colorful display on the machine and agrees to give it a try. As she inserts a coin into the machine, Iruma watches her intently from behind, his presence making Asahina feel both nervous and comforted. The screen lights up with vibrant colors, displaying the instructions for the game, just as Iruma explained earlier. Iruma stands behind her, offering gentle guidance as she navigates the game. The machine then presents its first question. Iruma encourages Asahina to think carefully before choosing an answer, but she quickly selects one, her response confident and sure. The answer is correct, and the screen flashes a congratulatory message for her achievement. Iruma cheers her on, his voice filled with excitement and encouragement. Asahina feels a mixture of embarrassment and happiness. She never expected to enjoy a game like this, but her heart feels light as she continues to play. Each moment spent with Iruma is filled with laughter and enjoyment. She finds herself becoming more at ease, her earlier nervousness slipping away. In the outside, the rain falls heavily, but inside the play zone, it's as if the two of them are in their own little world, sheltered from the storm. The moment arrives when they face the final question from the trivia machine. Asahina feels a surge of tension, the weight of the challenge pressing on her. Despite her nerves, she knows she has accepted this challenge and is determined to see it through. Iruma, equally excited, has never reached the final stage before, and his enthusiasm is palpable. His eyes shine with the hope of winning the quiz together. Asahina reflects on the task ahead, her thoughts racing. She knows she must try to finish without making any mistakes. The pressure mounts, but she resolves to give it her best shot. Memories of childhood games flood her mind, recalling how she never managed to complete the ones she started. This time, she wants things to be different. With Iruma by her side, encouraging her with every step, Asahina feels a newfound sense of determination. Her hand hovers over the screen, ready to select the answer. She takes a deep breath, focuses on the question, and makes her choice. The room seems to hold its breath, waiting for the result. Suddenly, the final question appears on the screen, and to Asahina's surprise, it's in English. "In my book you should stop smoking. Explain the meaning behind the sentence." Shocked and dismayed, Asahina feels her heart sink. Her English skills are poor, and she fears this challenge may be insurmountable. Panic starts to set in as the countdown timer ticks away, each second pulling her closer to the brink of failure. Iruma, sensing her anxiety, urges her to stay calm and focus, reassuring her that they can figure it out together. Asahina takes a deep breath and tries to concentrate on the 3 answer options displayed on the screen. She knows she must analyze each one carefully. Her mind races, dissecting the potential meanings behind the phrase. Asahina imagines that out of the 3 choices, at least one must be incorrect, though she wonders if under different circumstances, even the wrong answer could be seen as right. This ambiguity adds to her confusion, stirring her long-standing habit of second-guessing herself. It's a trait that has often left her trailing behind in various situations, hesitant and unsure. As the timer continues to count down, Asahina's mind zeroes in on the word book. She contemplates its many interpretations, literal, metaphorical, and situational. The metaphorical aspect of the phrase troubles her the most. Asahina begins to feel overwhelmed, convinced she can't find the right answer. Just as she's about to give up, Iruma steps in, offering his assistance to analyze the possible answers. He suggests that the book mentioned in the question might refer to something like a contract book or a register. He explains that sometimes specific phrases added at the beginning of a sentence can shift the meaning entirely, and identifying the one that stands out could lead them to the correct answer. Iruma views the question as a potential trap designed to mislead. Asahina is amazed by Iruma's insight and feels a surge of hope. Iruma offers to help her choose the right answer, confident that they can solve it together. Suddenly, Iruma shares a personal revelation, confessing that he has also experienced moments of feeling overlooked. This unexpected admission catches Asahina off guard, adding a new layer to their interaction. She is surprised by Iruma's vulnerability and feels a sense of connection to him, realizing that despite their differences, they share similar insecurities. Asahina processes Iruma's words, considering their significance. She realizes that the correct answer is likely option B, the one that surprisingly does not mention book at all. Trusting her judgment, she selects it. The game machine lights up and chimes, announcing that Asahina has won with a perfect score. She can hardly believe her accomplishment, while Iruma is elated by their success. Though it is just a game, Asahina feels a surge of happiness and a sense of competence, wishing to preserve this joyful moment. She acknowledges Iruma's assistance in solving the final question and thanks him sincerely. Iruma, humbly, mentions that English has been his strength since childhood, though he often feels inadequate when using it. Asahina, noticing his self-doubt, encourages him not to underestimate his abilities. Iruma suddenly inquires if Asahina is tired, and if not, he proposes they try another game. Typically, Asahina would turn down such an offer, but this time she agrees. They proceed to play another game, and for Asahina, it's a unique and joyful experience. She feels a happiness she has never felt before, making this day one of the most delightful she has ever had. As the afternoon unfolds, Iruma suggests they grab lunch at a restaurant known for its delicious meat dishes. However, Asahina declines and unexpectedly pulls out a bento from her bag. When Iruma asks if she made it, Asahina confirms, feeling a bit flustered by the intense way Iruma gazes at the bento. Suddenly, Asahina recalls that Iruma might have made a reservation at the restaurant and feels compelled to apologize for changing his plans. To her surprise, Iruma's excitement grows, his eyes glistening with emotion. He exclaims that a homemade bento from a girl is a treasure, far more valuable than any legendary weapon, and he finds it truly amazing. This response makes Asahina feel even closer to Iruma, and she can't help but enjoy his company more. They find a spot to eat, and Iruma devours the bento with great enthusiasm, while Asahina watches him with a smile. Seeing Iruma relish her cooking fills Asahina with joy, making the moment even more special. Asahina reflects on how remarkable Iruma is. Despite feeling joy, anger, or sadness, his expression remains consistent, making it difficult for anyone to perceive him as anything but content. If people could see him honestly, they'd realize how different he is from the rumors circulating about him. Today, Asahina had feared Iruma might endlessly talk about manga, eki games, or anime, but he proved her wrong. She is pleasantly surprised by his ability to converse smoothly, especially given his social anxiety. As Iruma finishes his lunch, he expresses his appreciation for the meal, remarking on how delicious it was. This moment reinforces Asahina's growing admiration for Aruma, seeing him as more complex and genuine than she initially thought. Asahina explains that she often helps her mother cook at home because her younger sister can't cook. Although they are twins, they are very different in terms of abilities and weaknesses. Her sister has a natural talent for many things and is very skilled. Asahina feels proud of her sister, who is bright, cheerful, and kind. Her sister is also very caring towards Asahina, which sometimes makes Asahina feel envious. She adds that her mother is very polite and gentle, but can be intimidating when angry. Her father, the only man in their household, has a quirky hobby, but is very reliable. Iruma asks about her father's hobby, guessing whether he collects plastic items like Bandam. Iruma himself likes Bandam, but quickly shifts the conversation, asking if Asahina enjoys her father's hobby. Asahina responds that her mother and sister also like it. While Asahina shares about her family, Iruma listens attentively with a smile, showing no signs of discomfort. When Asahina asks about Iruma's family, he explains that his father is a junior high school teacher who has always advised him to be mindful of his actions. His father is cheerful and loves to tell jokes, though Iruma sometimes worries when his father cries after drinking beer. On the other hand, his mother is very passionate and hates to miss out on anything. Iruma shares a story about how his mother once stood in front of a supermarket since early morning to catch a big sale, despite the cold weather. Iruma's younger sister, who is beautiful and intelligent, also cares about Iruma and his date with Asahina. Iruma continues, mentioning that a man named Shun Namikawa likes his sister. However, his sister is known for being ruthless, as she manipulates Namikawa to fulfill her every desire. After sharing about his family, Iruma, feeling nervous, asks Asahina which part of him she likes. Asahina is taken aback when Iruma asks which part of him she likes. However, Iruma quickly apologizes, realizing that his question might have been too forward. He reassures her that there's no pressure to answer, as he was just a bit curious. Suddenly, a young child calls out to his father and points at Iruma. When the father approaches, the child asks if Iruma is a fat baby wearing clothes and wonders if he's a fat pig. The father apologizes for his child's outburst, but Iruma, unfazed, explains that this isn't the first time something like this has happened and tells the father not to worry. Iruma then asks the child if his name is Taichi and if he really likes pigs. The child enthusiastically confirms that he does. Iruma introduces himself to the child and shares that pork chops are delicious and that he often eats them with his father. The child becomes curious, and the father apologizes to Asahina before calling his son to hurry up as their movie is about to start. The child excitedly tells Iruma that they are going to watch a movie about penguins, explaining that the film has good ratings and features a group of penguins saving many gods. Iruma asks if the film is about the 8 million gods, mentioning how in Japan, even things like fire, rain, and toilets have their own deities. The child is fascinated by Iruma's knowledge and urges his father to hurry so they can watch the movie. Asahina is left in awe of Iruma, who then asks if they can continue with their lunch. Asahina and Iruma stroll through a park. While walking, Iruma comments that the little boy earlier must be very lively, to which Asahina agrees. She then mentions that Iruma knows a lot of things, especially when he talked about the 8 million gods, and how he didn't hesitate at all. Iruma humbly responds that it was just random trivia he happened to learn because he enjoys reading random facts. Asahina reflects on the movie the boy, Taichi, wanted to watch and how it was filled with sadness, especially the part about gods disappearing when they are forgotten. Asahina wonders aloud, what if she disappeared? Would anyone notice? Iruma suddenly stops walking and tells Asahina that there are many things in the world that can't be seen with the eyes alone. Normally, these things remain hidden, but Iruma believes that they are always by our side, protecting us. Asahina curiously asks if they refers to gods or fairies. Iruma replies that fairies are also a fascinating topic, sharing a Western legend that when a person dies, they are reincarnated as a fairy. Many people can neither see nor hear them, except for a few special individuals. Iruma adds that fairies are similar to Japanese ghosts. He then asks if he could communicate with fairies. Would Asahina believe him? Continuing, Iruma says that earlier in the day, before their date, the fairies told him that Asahina was a beautiful and innocent girl. Asahina is surprised by this, but Iruma quickly admits that he was joking. Asahina, feeling a bit irritated, asks why he lied to her, and if he's lied before. Iruma asks if she feels better now. Asahina, still confused, wonders what he means by that. Iruma explains that he noticed Asahina seemed very sad this morning, and he was worried. He also admits that what happened at the cinema was his fault. Iruma reassures her that he doesn't need to worry anymore. Asahina reflects on the events that have unfolded, and suddenly, she feels a sense of calm wash over her. She begins to wonder if her luck has changed, feeling that her decision to go on this date with Iruma was the right one because it has been so much fun. Out of the blue, Nane sends a message asking about the date and requests a picture as proof. Iruma asks what's happening, but Asahina assures him that there's nothing wrong. Asahina then tells him she has a favor to ask, and Iruma agrees to do anything she wants. She asks for a selfie, and Iruma happily agrees. They take a selfie, and afterward Asahina thanks him. Iruma asks if something's wrong, but Asahina says she's okay. Iruma suggests they sit on a bench in front of a store, mentioning that he often shops there. Iruma goes into the store to shop while Asahina waits on the bench outside. Not long after, Iruma returns and tells Asahina that the store manager allowed them to sit on the bench in front of the store. Iruma also offers Asahina a bottle of tea. While drinking the tea, Asahina thinks to herself that Iruma doesn't seem repulsive to her. In fact, he actually seems like a kind person, though not to the extent of wanting an extremely intimate relationship with him. Lost in her thoughts, Iruma suddenly looks inside the store, and Asahina asks what's going on. Iruma apologizes and asks if Asahina is feeling better. Asahina replies that she feels fine and asks what Iruma saw. Iruma says it's nothing important. However, someone suddenly walks out from inside the store. Iruma thanks the person, who turns out to be the store manager. The store manager then asks Iruma about the woman beside him, and if she's a good person. Iruma introduces the store manager, Masahiko Aoi, to Asahina. The store manager then asks Asahina if she's Iruma's girlfriend. Asahina feels embarrassed, and the store manager laughs, expressing disbelief that Iruma has a girlfriend. He says that since Iruma now has a girlfriend, maybe he's starting to believe in miracles. The store manager then shows Iruma a toy and asks if he wants to buy it. Iruma says that he's been looking for that toy for a long time. Iruma ends up buying the toy. Asahina asks what Iruma bought, and Iruma explains in great detail about the toy. It's called the AA Warrior, a robot made with SD ratio plastic, a limited edition model that's really difficult to get because it's expensive. The store manager interrupts Iruma and says that if Iruma keeps rambling like that, the woman will start to hate him. Iruma realizes his mistake and admits that he lost control for the second time. He had promised not to mention anything about being an otaku in front of Asahina, and he feels like he wasted his effort earlier. Suddenly, the store manager hands Iruma a toy, a gunpla with an old-looking Yoshinobu model. The manager tells Iruma that if he gives him 100 yen, he'll give him another one. However, Iruma says the manager probably just wants to clear out his stock, and that he doesn't need the model. The manager then suggests he could give the robot to Iruma's girlfriend. Iruma responds that there's no way he'd give such a toy as a gift to Asahina. Meanwhile, Asahina recalls that her father had once made something similar to that robot. The store manager asks if she's interested in the model, and Asahina replies yes. The manager then tells Iruma that Asahina likes the robot and raises the price to 2,000 yen. Iruma buys it, and the robot is given to Asahina. On their way, Iruma apologizes for dragging her into a problem, but Asahina reassures him that it's fine and even says she likes the robot he gave her. Iruma hopes she'll enjoy the gift. They walk until they reach the train station, and it's time to say goodbye. Asahina expresses how happy she is with the day. Iruma offers to escort her inside the station, but Asahina declines. He then waves and says goodbye, telling her he'll see her at school next week. Asahina boards the train, glancing at Iruma as it departs. Iruma thinks to himself that this was their first date. After their first date, the relationship between Wakaba and Haruto grows closer day by day. Today, after the final school bell rings, Wakaba stands by the school gate, patiently waiting for Haruto. The sun is beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the scene. A few minutes pass, and then Haruto appears, slightly out of breath from rushing. He approaches Wakaba with an apologetic smile and sincerely says sorry. Wakaba, with a gentle smile, shakes her head and assures him. As they begin their walk home, the atmosphere between them feels light and comfortable. They stroll side by side, their steps in sync, as they chat about their day, their favorite subjects, and even share a few laughs. Wakaba notices how natural it feels now to walk beside Haruto, a stark contrast to how she used to feel, nervous and unsure. She no longer feels uneasy or awkward in his presence. Their conversations flow effortlessly, covering a range of topics from school events to their favorite hobbies. What once felt like a distant, formal interaction has now transformed into a relaxed and enjoyable routine. Walking home together has become something they both look forward to, a special part of their day where they can unwind and enjoy each other's company. Wakaba realizes that talking with Haruto no longer brings any anxiety or discomfort. Instead, she finds comfort and happiness in their growing relationship. Wakaba is starting to get used to hearing Haruto talk about his day at school. She enjoys listening to him, and it makes her feel that their relationship is moving along just fine. The next day, while Wakaba is sitting in her classroom, Nanace comes over to talk to her. She isn't alone. She brings Shuji and Toraimaki with her. They all sit down together, and Wakaba starts to tell them about her relationship with Haruto. As she talks, she notices Nanace doesn't seem impressed. Nanace feels their relationship is too plain and boring. She thinks they need something more exciting, so she gives Wakaba a new mission: to kiss Haruto the next time they meet. Hearing this, Wakaba feels confused and nervous. She has never been in a relationship before, and dating Haruto is her first experience of this kind. She has been doing it with a sincere and open heart, trying her best to understand her feelings. The idea of kissing Haruto feels overwhelming. She isn't sure if she's ready for such a step. Nanace doesn't feel sorry for Wakaba's discomfort. Instead, she assumes Wakaba might be developing feelings for Haruto. Wakaba quickly denies this, saying she doesn't have romantic feelings for him. But despite her protests, she feels like she can't say no to Nanace's request. After all, it was Nanace who came up with the idea of Wakaba and Haruto dating in the first place. The weekend finally arrives, and Wakaba and Haruto have planned another date. Wakaba stands near the station, waiting for Haruto. She can't stop thinking about Nanace's mission. The more she thinks about it, the more she feels she can't do it. Wakaba doesn't dislike Haruto, but being his girlfriend feels like a big responsibility. Even now, she still feels unsure about holding hands with a boy, let alone kissing one. She believes it's wrong to kiss someone if she doesn't have true feelings for them. But despite her feelings, she doesn't know how to handle the situation. So, she stands there quietly, waiting for Haruto. Time passes, and before she realizes it, she has been waiting for 30 minutes. It's strange for Haruto to be late and not say anything. Wakaba starts to worry. At first, she thinks about calling him, but she hopes his train will arrive any minute. Unfortunately, it's already 10:40, and there's still no sign of Haruto. Wakaba begins to fear that something bad might have happened to him. She finally works up the courage to call him. To her relief, Haruto answers right away. He apologizes, explaining that something urgent came up, and he can't make it to their date. He keeps saying sorry for making her wait. Wakaba assures him it's okay, but inside, she feels relieved. She won't have to carry out Nanace's mission today. After hanging up, Wakaba decides to take a short walk. It feels too early to go home, and it's not quite lunchtime yet. She heads to a nearby park to clear her mind. While she's walking, she spots Taichi and his father. It feels like a strange coincidence that she keeps running into them during her dates. Wakaba approaches Taichi, and the little boy asks her how Haruto is doing. This question confuses Wakaba. Before she can answer, Taichi's father comes over and starts to explain what happened. He tells Wakaba that while he was shopping, he lost track of Taichi. Haruto saw Taichi wandering alone and decided to help him find his dad. After some time, Haruto spotted Taichi's dad across the street and was about to bring Taichi to him. Unfortunately, the light turned red quickly, and Haruto had to avoid some passing cars. Taichi was unharmed, but Haruto ended up getting hurt, hitting his head. Taichi's father wants to know if Haruto is okay, but Haruto ran off before they could find out. He mentions that Haruto's clothes got dirty from falling into the mud. Knowing that Wakaba is close to Haruto, he asks her to let him know if she sees Haruto. Hearing this, Wakaba's worry for Haruto grows. A little while later, she spots someone walking in the distance. At first, she's sure it's Haruto, but then she starts to doubt it. The person looks like a homeless man, with a bruised face, torn clothes, and mud all over. Wakaba wants to call out to him to see if it's really Haruto. Before she can, Haruto's two friends, Shun and Ryuichi, reach him first. They stop him at a nearby spot, asking what happened and why he looks so beaten up. Haruto's messy appearance catches the attention of people around them. This makes his friends even more annoyed. Ryuichi firmly tells the onlookers to stop staring at Haruto. They ask Haruto why he is in such a disheveled state. Haruto, with a gentle smile, tells them he just tripped and was being clumsy. Ryuichi, however, is not convinced. He suspects there's more to the story than Haruto is letting on. He peers at Haruto, trying to read between the lines, but Haruto maintains his calm demeanor. Shun, noticing Ryuichi's rising tension, steps in and tells him to relax, reminding him that Haruto has already explained what happened. Despite Shun's attempt to ease the situation, Ryuichi remains skeptical. He believes Haruto is hiding something, but seeing Haruto safe is enough for now. Ryuichi shifts the conversation, asking about Haruto's date with Wakaba. He guesses that with Haruto looking so dirty and disheveled, meeting Wakaba would be out of the question. Haruto nods and explains that he has already canceled their date. He told Wakaba he had an unexpected emergency and couldn't meet her today. As he speaks, tears begin to well up in Haruto's eyes. He admits that when it comes to Wakaba, the girl who confessed to him, he can't bear the thought of her being teased or looked down upon because of him. Haruto is accustomed to being the subject of teasing, but the idea of Wakaba feeling embarrassed or ridiculed because of his actions is something he cannot accept. His biggest fear, however, is that Wakaba might break up with him because of the events of the day. Ryuichi and Shun exchange a look of understanding and reassurance. They tell Haruto not to worry too much, assuring him that Wakaba isn't the type to make impulsive decisions. They suggest that he should sincerely apologize to her and propose rescheduling their missed date for another time. Their words offer Haruto a sense of comfort and hope. He feels an overwhelming sense of gratitude towards his friends, who show him such genuine care and concern. He thanks Ryuichi and Shun repeatedly, his voice filled with emotion. After spending some time talking and reassuring him, the three friends decide to accompany Haruto back home, ensuring he gets there safely. Meanwhile, Wakaba stands in the distance, unnoticed by the boys. She watches the entire scene unfold, her eyes fixed on Haruto and his friends. She listens carefully to their conversation, catching every word they say. Wakaba is deeply moved by Haruto's words and actions. She is surprised by the depth of Haruto's feelings for her. His concern about not wanting to embarrass her leaves her speechless and introspective. The sincerity and warmth in his words touch her heart in a way she didn't expect. As Wakaba continues to observe, she is also struck by the strong bond between Haruto, Ryuichi, and Shun. Their friendship, built on trust and support, is something she finds admirable. Wakaba reflects on her own friendships and realizes she has never experienced such genuine and unconditional support. Watching the three boys interact, she feels a mix of emotions, gratitude, admiration, and a newfound appreciation for Haruto. Their actions remind her of the importance of having people who truly care, and it makes her cherish the connection she has with Haruto even more. After watching the three boys walk away, Wakaba notices a girl nearby, sitting on the ground and crying softly. Moved by concern, she approaches the girl and kneels beside her. Gently, Wakaba asks what's wrong and if something bad has happened. The girl, between her sniffles and tears, explains that her mother had scolded her for not finishing her homework. To make matters worse, some of her classmates had teased her by throwing her school bag into a tree, leaving her helpless and humiliated. Wakaba listens attentively, her heart aching for the girl. Without hesitation, she scans the nearby trees and spots the bag caught on a branch. Determined to help, Wakaba climbs the tree carefully, retrieves the bag, and hands it back to the grateful girl. The girl, wiping her tears, introduces herself as Haruka. She expresses her heartfelt thanks to Wakaba, her voice trembling but filled with relief. Wakaba smiles warmly, happy to have been able to help. They decide to sit on a nearby bench, and as they begin to chat, Wakaba learns more about Haruka. Haruka shares that she has a pet dog named Run, whom she considers more than just a pet. She enthusiastically describes Run as a big brother and her best friend, someone who's always by her side. Haruka's eyes light up as she tells a story about how Run once sneaked into the kitchen and devoured her father's jerky, causing quite a stir at home. The chaos that followed was intense, but Haruka couldn't stay mad at Ren for long. Wakaba laughs at the story, finding it endearing and amusing. However, she notices a sudden change in Haruka's demeanor. The cheerful light in her eyes dims, and she looks downcast. Haruka confesses that the incident with the jerky led to her parents questioning whether they could keep Ren. Her parents are worried about Ren's behavior, and there's been talk about finding him a new home. Haruka's voice quivers as she expresses her fear of losing Ren. She explains that Ren is more than a pet. He's her emotional anchor, and the thought of life without him is almost unbearable. Despite her sadness, Haruka tries to lift her own spirits. She takes a deep breath and tells Wakaba that no matter what happens, she'll always consider Ren her best friend. Even if they're apart, nothing will change the special bond they share. Haruka's resolve to cherish her memories with Ren, regardless of the future, touches Wakaba deeply. She admires Haruka's strength and the love she has for Ren. Haruka then turns the conversation to Wakaba, asking if she has someone or something as special as Ren. It doesn't have to be a pet, Haruka explains, just someone Wakaba treasures deeply, someone she always wants to spend time with. The question catches Wakaba off guard, and she falls into a contemplative silence. She realizes that she doesn't have anyone she feels particularly close to, no one she relies on in the way Haruka relies on Ren. However, unexpectedly, Haruto's image flashes in her mind. Wakaba is startled by this sudden thought. Why would she think of Haruto? They aren't that close. She quickly dismisses the idea, shaking her head slightly as if to clear her thoughts. Yet, the thought of Haruto lingers, making her feel uneasy. Her expression shifts to one of worry, which Haruka notices immediately. Feeling guilty for possibly upsetting Wakaba, Haruka quickly apologizes. She didn't mean to make Wakaba uncomfortable. Wakaba, realizing Haruka's concern, assures her that it's okay. She smiles gently and says she doesn't mind the question, though it has left her feeling a bit introspective. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of Ren, Haruka's dog. Haruka's face brightens instantly as she rushes to hug Ren, introducing him to Wakaba with excitement. Wakaba greets Ren with a warm smile, enjoying the sight of Haruka's happiness. However, Haruka soon notices that Ren's collar looks different, and a flicker of worry crosses her face. She expresses concern that her mother might be upset with Ren for some reason. Ren, as if sensing the urgency, tugs gently at Haruka, as though trying to lead her home. Haruka initially seems puzzled, but then remembers her unfinished homework. Realizing the time, she decides it's best to head back home. With a grateful heart, she thanks Wakaba once more for her kindness, promising to return the favor someday. Haruka waves goodbye as she and Ren start running towards home. Wakaba watches them go, a smile lingering on her lips. She feels a sense of satisfaction knowing that Haruka is no longer sad. She doesn't expect anything in return from Haruka, but appreciates the sentiment behind her promise. As Haruka disappears from view, Wakaba sits quietly, reflecting on the day's events. She feels a peculiar warmth in her chest, an inexplicable happiness that seems to bubble up from within. She can't quite identify the reason, but she knows that something about today has left her feeling more alive and connected than before. The next morning, Wakaba wakes up feeling restless, unable to shake off the thoughts that kept her up all night. As she prepares for school, the events of the previous day play on a loop in her mind. Her failed mission, the unexpected encounter with Haruto, and the looming confrontation with Nanace all weigh heavily on her. Wakaba feels a growing sense of dread, knowing she will have to face Nanace and explain why she didn't complete the mission. The thought of Nanace's possible anger makes her stomach churn, and she can't help but feel today is going to be one of the most difficult days she's faced in a long time. Her face reflects her inner turmoil, and despite her efforts to appear composed, the sadness in her eyes is unmistakable. As she walks to school, her mind races, trying to think of how she will explain herself to Nanace. She knows that simply saying the date was cancelled won't be enough, but she can't bring herself to lie about it either. The pressure mounts with each step she takes toward the school gates. She's so lost in thought that she doesn't notice someone calling her name at first. It's only when she hears the voice a second time that she snaps out of her reverie and turns to see Haruto approaching her. Haruto's presence catches her off guard, and both of them are visibly awkward at the unexpected meeting. Haruto quickly steps forward, his face full of regret, and begins to apologize. His voice is earnest as he explains how sorry he is for canceling their date at the last minute. He bows deeply, even going so far as to kneel in front of her, showing just how remorseful he feels. He tells Wakaba that he feels terrible for leaving her waiting in the cold without any explanation and that he's ashamed for not contacting her sooner. Wakaba is surprised by his sincerity and quickly asks him to stand up. She tells him that he doesn't need to apologize so profusely, reassuring him that she understands and doesn't hold it against him. Her words seem to bring a small measure of relief to Haruto, but he still looks troubled. Wakaba finds herself observing him closely, her eyes scanning his face for any signs of distress or lingering pain from the previous day's incident. She notices that he seems to be in better condition physically, but she can't shake the feeling that something is still weighing on him. Gathering her courage, Wakaba asks Haruto why he canceled their date. She expects him to mention the accident, hoping he will trust her enough to confide in her. However, Haruto's response takes her by surprise. He stammers for a moment before telling her that he overslept. The explanation feels off, and Wakaba can tell that he's not being entirely truthful. Despite this, she doesn't press him further, sensing that there's more to his story than he's ready to share. In reality, Haruto is battling his own inner conflict. The events of the previous day have left him shaken. He can't stop thinking about how his actions could have endangered Taichi, and though everything turned out fine, the thought of what could have happened haunts him. Haruto feels a deep sense of guilt and disappointment in himself, fearing that his recklessness might have caused harm. He's relieved that Taichi is safe, but the weight of the near miss is something he's not ready to disclose to Wakaba. The lie about oversleeping is a way to shield himself from confronting the full extent of his feelings and the possibility of worrying Wakaba even more. Haruto's life frustrates Wakaba. She sternly tells him that if he ever lies to her again, she won't forgive him. Seeing Wakaba upset makes Haruto panic. He quickly tries to explain that he didn't lie, but Wakaba remains unconvinced. Eventually, Haruto admits that he hid the fact that he was helping Taichi, which led to the cancellation of their date. Wakaba, understanding the situation but still annoyed, decides to give Haruto a chance to make it up to her. She demands that he treat her to a meal at the cake shop they visited on their first date as a form of apology. She suggests they go after school, making it clear that if Haruto agrees, she'll forgive him and let the matter rest. Haruto is initially taken aback but quickly agrees, realizing this is a way to make amends. Wakaba's smile at his agreement reassures him, and for a moment, the tension between them eases. The next day at school, Wakaba walks towards her class, clutching her bag tightly, as if hiding something precious inside. It turns out that during their visit to the cake shop, Haruto had asked Wakaba to send him a picture they took on their first date. However, Wakaba feels she didn't look her best in the photo and is reluctant to send it. Instead, she made a promise to prepare a bento for him, knowing how much he enjoyed it the last time. As she walks, her friend Nanace notices Wakaba's unusual behavior and spots the bento. Curious, Nanace asks Wakaba who the bento is for, suspecting it's for someone special. Wakaba, trying to avoid the conversation, brushes off Nanace's question and heads straight for Haruto's class. Entering the class for the first time, Wakaba feels a wave of nervousness. She had never visited Haruto's class before, and the unfamiliar faces make her anxious. She scans the room, but doesn't see Haruto. Instead, she is greeted by two boys, Date Ryuichi and his twin, Date Ryuji. Known as the Date brothers, they have a reputation for being quirky and collecting information about everyone in the school. Their peculiar hobby makes them familiar with almost all the students, not just those in their year. The twins, intrigued by Wakaba's presence, approach her with curiosity. Ryuichi asks why someone as lovely as Wakaba is visiting their class. Wakaba introduces herself politely, explaining that she is from Class 4 and is there to meet Haruto. However, before she can finish, the Date brothers enthusiastically interrupt, claiming that they already know all about her from Haruto. Ryuji adds that Haruto talks about her all the time, mentioning how pretty, kind, and fun she is to be around. Wakaba, caught off guard by their familiarity with her, blushes slightly. She hadn't expected Haruto to speak of her so fondly to others. The brothers continue, expressing their opinion that Haruto is incredibly lucky to have someone like Wakaba in his life. Although Wakaba feels slightly uncomfortable with their comments, she can't help but feel flattered. Wakaba asks if Haruto is in the class, hoping to steer the conversation back to her reason for visiting. Instead of answering directly, the twins take the opportunity to share their thoughts on Haruto. They describe him as an intriguing person, despite his sometimes foolish demeanor, and mention his fascination with the 2D world, hinting at his love for anime and games. Ryuichi remarks that it's rare to find someone as open and honest as Haruto, while Ryuji agrees, saying it wouldn't hurt if he were more engaged with the real world. They suggest that Wakaba might help Haruto see the beauty of the 3D world. Their comments make Wakaba wonder how much Haruto has shared about his interests and thoughts. Despite feeling a bit overwhelmed by the twins' energetic banter, Wakaba appreciates their insight into Haruto's character. The conversation gives her a deeper understanding of Haruto, making her realize there's more to him than she initially thought. As the twins continue their chatter, she finds herself growing more curious about Haruto's world and the reasons behind his unique perspective. Ryuji also says that Haruto sometimes thinks maturely. They recall an incident a while ago when there was a fight in the class. Afterward, Haruto stepped in as a mediator to resolve the conflict. Unfortunately, instead of calming down, the others ended up punching Haruto in the face. Strangely, Haruto didn't get angry. Instead, he suggested that they all play a game together. His classmates, knowing Haruto's passion for the 2D world, ignored his suggestion, thinking it was typical of him. Hearing this story from the Date brothers surprises Wakaba. She hadn't expected Haruto to act so maturely, even if his methods seemed unconventional. The twins then request Wakaba to take care of Haruto. With a smile, Wakaba reassures them that she will do her best. In the midst of their conversation, Haruto arrives. He excitedly explains that one reason he plays games is to make Wakaba happy, especially since the game he is currently playing is a romance game. Wakaba smiles, though a bit confused by the situation. She finds Haruto's reasoning both amusing and endearing. Soon after, Yuko and Kanami, two of their classmates, join them. Yuko teases Haruto, suggesting that in real life, Haruto would probably be too nervous to kiss Wakaba properly. The playful jab catches Wakaba off guard, and she feels her face heat up. Haruto, flustered by the teasing, tries to laugh it off but ends up looking even more embarrassed. Haruto then expresses that he wants to make Wakaba happy no matter what happens. He imagines a romantic evening where, under a snowy tree, he and Wakaba share a gentle kiss. Hearing this, the Date brothers, Yuko, and Kanami feel amused and a bit exasperated. They facepalm, not particularly fond of Haruto's daydreaming. Haruto, oblivious to Wakaba's presence, innocently remarks that he wouldn't talk about erotic things in front of her. As Ryuichi and Shun enter the room, Wakaba waves at them, signaling her presence. Shun and Ryuichi are visibly shocked to see Wakaba there. Their panicked expressions make Haruto sense that something is off. He turns around, utterly surprised to see Wakaba. His legs go weak with embarrassment, and his friends try to console him. Some even offer to take over Haruto's class duties. This gesture leaves Wakaba silent for a moment. Shun approaches Wakaba, attempting to explain that Haruto has a unique way of thinking. Meanwhile, Haruto's two female friends apologize to Wakaba, admitting they didn't know she was Haruto's girlfriend and for making him talk about such things. However, Wakaba assures them that she doesn't mind. She's more surprised by how much Haruto is loved by his friends. Shun elaborates that not everyone likes Haruto, but he always manages to make his friends laugh, which is why he's so cherished in their class. Even though some people don't like him, Haruto is unbothered by it. Wakaba understands, knowing it's impossible to please everyone. Though slightly taken aback, she keeps her composure. Haruto then approaches Wakaba, earnestly apologizing for her having to hear his inappropriate comments. Wakaba reassures him, stating that it's not a big deal and invites him to share the bento with her. Haruto is touched by her understanding. Yuko introduces herself to Wakaba and tells her to come to Haruto's class if he ever hurts or acts strange toward her. She jokingly warns that she wouldn't hesitate to throw Haruto around if he misbehaves. Wakaba is moved by their concern. Wakaba and Haruto then head to the school garden, where they sit and eat the bento together. Haruto enjoys the meal, praising Wakaba's cooking. Suddenly, Haruto feeds Wakaba a bite of her own food, wanting to truly share the experience. As they eat, Haruto apologizes again for his earlier comments, admitting he got carried away. Wakaba reassures him, understanding that Haruto can be a bit mischievous. Haruto blushes, trying to explain that he was just so happy that he couldn't help himself. Wakaba's cheeks flush as well, but she smiles softly. Haruto notices her adorable smile, feeling a warmth in his chest. Wakaba, feeling a sense of joy she hasn't experienced before, asks Haruto to call her by her first name instead of her last name, Asahina. Haruto is momentarily stunned, while Wakaba is lost in her thoughts. She realizes that she's never laughed or smiled so freely as she does when she's with Haruto, almost forgetting that she's supposed to be playing a game in this relationship. The days pass by so quickly. Wakaba, as usual, heads to school with Futaba. However, that day they wake up late. They rush to get ready, and Wakaba quickly urges Futaba to hurry up so they won't miss school. As they walk on their way, Futaba notices something different about Wakaba's tone and compliments her for speaking in a surprisingly gentle manner. Wakaba, caught off guard, is surprised by Futaba's unexpected praise. After they chat for a moment, the two of them part ways. Wakaba continues on her journey toward her school, but as she walks, she begins to sense someone following her. She turns around and sees Haruto, who is quietly trailing behind her with a mischievous grin, intending to surprise her. Wakaba wants to reach school first, but in reality, Haruto arrives before her. He waits for Wakaba and surprises her. Wakaba thought she would succeed in getting there first, but Haruto beats her to it. Haruto teases her, confident that Wakaba simply wants to arrive first, but she always ends up after him. Wakaba looks annoyed, but suddenly she brightens up. It has been a week since they started calling each other by their first names. At first, it was embarrassing and difficult, but now it's a different story. The awkwardness Wakaba initially felt around Haruto is gone, though she still sometimes feels shy. A warm feeling rises from her heart to her cheeks. This is the feeling Wakaba wants to experience. She doesn't quite understand herself, but she enjoys these ordinary conversations. Seeing Haruto's smiling face makes her happy. Wakaba can confidently say that the days she spends with Haruto are exciting and fun. During lunch break, Haruto and Wakaba eat together as usual. Wakaba's friends are envious that she gets to eat with her boyfriend. Seeing this, Wakaba can only smile. However, Nanace is different. In class, Nanace approaches Wakaba. She feels that Wakaba is no longer playing around with her feelings for Haruto. Nanace even knows that Wakaba brings lunch to eat with Haruto. Wakaba looks annoyed with Nanace, especially when Nanace refers to Haruto as manju, a type of Japanese steamed bun. Despite this, Wakaba can't do anything. She just clenches her fists in silence. After Nanace leaves, Yajima arrives. He is Wakaba's classmate, but they rarely interact. He keeps his distance from Nanace's group and has never been involved with Wakaba before. Slowly, he asks Wakaba if she can endure dating someone she doesn't like. It turns out Yajima disapproves of this game, but he can't do anything for Wakaba because of Nanace and her friends. Yajima suddenly starts crying, which confuses Wakaba. Eventually, she understands why Yajima is crying. It's because he saw Wakaba's terrifying expression when talking to Nanace. He thought Wakaba was mentally affected and wanted to harm herself. Nevertheless, Wakaba knows that Yajima is braver than the other classmates. He has the courage to talk to Wakaba, even though others wouldn't dare for fear of ending up like her, being bossed around by Nanace. Initially, Wakaba didn't like Yajima either. She thought he was indifferent to her suffering, like the others. But it turns out Yajima isn't entirely a coward. He's just scared of Nanace. Seeing Yajima's concern for her, Wakaba explains that Haruto isn't like what people say. He's kind and different from the rumors. Therefore, Wakaba tells Yajima that if he doesn't want to make her sad, it's better not to speak ill of Haruto. Hearing this, Yajima is confused. He wonders if Wakaba is truly suffering from this game or not. Wakaba then tells him to return to his seat before Nanace comes back. Somehow, Wakaba feels calm now. She doesn't know when she started feeling this calm. In her heart, Wakaba wants to understand her true feelings for Haruto. Day by day, Wakaba and Haruto continue their journey together. Today, they don't go home together because Haruto has an urgent matter. Just as Wakaba arrives at the station, she receives a message from her mother, asking her to buy groceries. So, Wakaba heads back in the direction before the station to find a supermarket. Upon arriving, she notices Christmas banners, realizing that this year's Christmas will be different because she'll spend it with Haruto. She acknowledges that there will be times they spend alone together. Quickly, Wakaba dismisses her inappropriate thoughts and searches for a well-stocked supermarket. After some time, Wakaba sees Haruto with a woman. They seem close, but Wakaba doesn't know who she is to Haruto. She becomes suspicious, even considering following Haruto secretly. Wakaba wonders if the woman is Haruto's sister, cousin, or girlfriend. If she's Haruto's girlfriend, Wakaba thinks Haruto only accepted her out of pity. Instantly, Wakaba feels sad but continues to follow Haruto and the woman discreetly. Eventually, Wakaba trips, revealing her presence to Haruto. He asks why she's there, and Wakaba explains that her mother sent her to buy groceries. The woman then asks Haruto who Wakaba is. Haruto, nervous and unsure of how to answer, clearly states that Wakaba is his girlfriend. Hearing this, the woman is delighted. It turns out she is Haruto's mother. Wakaba is shocked, unable to believe that she is meeting Haruto's mother. Haruto's mother is thrilled to know that her son has a beautiful and cute girlfriend. She couldn't believe her son, who seemed uninterested in real girls, finally has a girlfriend who isn't from a 2D world. Haruto's mother introduces herself as Natsuki Aruma. Knowing that Wakaba is grocery shopping, she asks Haruto to accompany Wakaba. Haruto is happy to hear this, but his mother has a lot of groceries. As a result, Haruto's mother carries all her groceries by herself and allows Haruto to help Wakaba shop. She even permits Haruto to stay out late if he wants. Hearing this, Haruto feels embarrassed and quickly tells Wakaba to start walking, following her. Wakaba feels guilty for troubling Haruto, but Haruto doesn't mind at all. He's delighted to be with Wakaba. Suddenly, Wakaba falls silent, thinking about something. Once again, she learns more about Haruto. Wakaba is happy because, in moments like these, they really look like a couple. After they finish shopping, Haruto offers Wakaba a cup of tea before heading home. However, Wakaba suggests going to their favorite cake shop instead. They agree and head there together. Upon arriving, Wakaba is surprised to see Futaba at the same cake shop. Futaba is equally surprised to see Wakaba there, and even more so when she notices Haruto with Wakaba. Futaba innocently remarks that Wakaba rarely brings friends along. Hearing this, they both smile. Wakaba then introduces Futaba to Haruto. Shortly after, a few of Futaba's friends run up to her, complaining that she walked too fast. They curiously ask who the girl that looks like her is. Futaba happily introduces Wakaba as her twin. Her friends are amazed at how similar Wakaba and Futaba look. The three friends introduce themselves as Kazuho, Yukari, and Chinatsu. They are excited to meet Wakaba. However, Kazuho and Yukari's attention quickly shifts to Haruto. It turns out that Yukari and Kazuho are Haruto's friends from middle school. They reveal that Haruto suddenly transferred schools midway through the year, even changing his phone number and email, leaving them unable to contact him. They express their concern for him. Hearing this, Haruto apologizes for not keeping in touch after transferring schools. Initially, Wakaba is confused about their relationship, but after listening to Haruto's explanation, she understands that they know each other from the past. Futaba's three friends then ask about Haruto's relationship with Wakaba. Haruto confidently declares that Wakaba is his girlfriend. Hearing that Kazuho and Yukari are surprised. Kazuho and Yukari can't believe that Haruto has a girlfriend. They also notice how much Haruto has changed since middle school, and they are genuinely happy for him. After the introductions, they all enter the cake shop. Wakaba sits with Kazuho and Yukari and starts asking about Haruto's past. With some sadness, they explain that Haruto used to be a gloomy, shy, and quiet boy. Hearing this, Wakaba is shocked, as she never expected Haruto to have such a personality. Yukari adds that Haruto was frequently bullied by other classmates, and that Namikawa often protected him. Fortunately, the bullying gradually stopped, and Haruto worked on improving himself. However, one thing that didn't change is his shyness. Kazuho shares that she and Yukari used to help Haruto with his homework. Although he struggled with most subjects, he was good at English because his father was an English teacher. Kazuho also mentions that Haruto didn't have a mother, which surprises Wakaba. She wonders who Natsuki Aruma, who claimed to be his mother, really is. Wakaba finds herself deeply curious about Haruto's family and past. Kazuho explains that Haruto struggled with school because he had to manage all the household chores himself. They knew Haruto lived alone with his father. During his second year of middle school, Haruto fell down the stairs. Although he didn't break any bones, he hit his head hard and was taken to the hospital. His father, who wasn't home at the time, rushed to the hospital but was tragically hit by a truck and died. This story leaves Wakaba in shock. She can't imagine how Haruto must have felt during that time. She realizes that Haruto never talks about his past or his family, except when he mentions his father in the past tense. After his father's death, Haruto quietly transferred to another school without informing his friends. Despite this, Kazuho and Yukari are relieved to see Haruto happy now. They are thankful to Wakaba for being a part of Haruto's happiness. Wakaba, however, feels like she hasn't done anything special for Haruto's happiness. She reflects on how she had asked about his family without knowing his tragic past. Wakaba is now aware of how deeply she admires Haruto. She didn't expect to feel this way. She becomes speechless and covers her mouth, overwhelmed. Kazuho and Yukari worry, thinking Wakaba might be feeling unwell since she's sweating. Futaba, noticing this, rushes over, concerned that Kazuho might have said something hurtful. Haruto also comes over and suggests that they head home, canceling their tea plans. On the way home, Wakaba feels guilty, thinking she hasn't been attentive to Haruto's feelings. Haruto apologizes first, feeling bad that Wakaba had to learn about his past from someone else. He hadn't shared his story because he didn't want to burden her. Wakaba apologizes for always talking about herself and admits that she's not good at reading situations. She finally understands why she was bullied, her lack of awareness. Haruto reassures her, saying it's all in the past, and he doesn't hold anything against her. He suggests that Wakaba make him a fun bento with snacks to cheer him up. Wakaba, staring at Haruto, feels a connection, seeing a reflection of herself in his relationship with his father. During their walk, Haruto opens up about how he enjoys hearing Wakaba talk about her family. It makes him happy. He encourages Wakaba to learn to be more relaxed like his mother. This makes Wakaba smile a little. Haruto then talks about his mother. She is his biological mother, but they were separated for several years. Until 2 years ago, Haruto believed his mother had passed away, but he reunited with her and his younger sister Mafuyu. Haruto explains that his mother, Natsuki, originally belonged to the prestigious Bison family. Disliking the strict upbringing, she ran away and met Haruto's father. However, their happiness was short-lived. Haruto's father was tricked and ended up in debt. The Bison family paid off the debt, but on the condition that Natsuki leave Haruto and his father and marry her fiancé. After Haruto's father's death, Mafuyu approached Haruto, revealing that their mother was still alive, leading to their reunion. Haruto shares that his father taught him many useful things, including English. This reminds Wakaba of Haruto's dream, which he hasn't shared yet. She asks if it's related to his English skills, but Haruto shyly reveals that his main dream is to get married and have a family. He wants his mother to take care of their child, showing her that he's happy thanks to both his parents. Haruto realizes that his dream is simple, but he still has his own fear of being called a mothercon. Hearing that, Wakaba quickly says that it is a beautiful dream and that she wants to support him. However, Wakaba suddenly remembers their conversation from a few days ago, the one about her wanting to help make Haruto's wish come true. Her face turns red, but she tries to hide her thoughts. They continue their journey home, becoming closer along the way. Wakaba realizes that she has been given the chance to know Haruto more deeply. She also knows that Haruto enjoys laughing and can be a bit perverted, but he has the strength to laugh at the things that bother him and can make others laugh as well. He is a good person in these two aspects, shining like the sun. Now, Wakaba truly understands her own feelings. She finally knows that she is in love with Haruto. Haruto thanks her for the day, though Wakaba feels she has not done anything. Even so, Haruto wants to express his gratitude. In the middle of their conversation, Wakaba suddenly kisses Haruto on the cheek. She quickly explains that it is her way of saying thank you too. Haruto is startled by the kiss, but he smiles warmly. Wakaba's heart races, but she feels happy. They continue their journey, feeling closer and more connected. That day marks a turning point in Haruto and Wakaba's relationship. Without even realizing it, Haruto begins addressing Wakaba without honorifics, while Wakaba finds herself dropping the formal language she usually uses when speaking to Haruto. Their newfound closeness feels natural and comfortable, as though they have always been meant to be this way. They appear perfectly in sync, sharing smiles and laughter with ease. For Wakaba, every moment spent with Haruto becomes a treasure, a memory she wishes to hold on to forever. She longs to be by his side always, feeling as though her world has shifted into a new, more beautiful reality. As they walk together, hand in hand, they discuss their plans for their next date. Wakaba mentions wanting to play crane games, her eyes lighting up with excitement at the thought. Haruto, ever eager to please her, promises to win something special and give it to her as a gift. Their fingers interlocked, they wander through the city streets, basking in the warmth of each other's presence. Wakaba feels an overwhelming sense of peace standing beside him. She wishes this feeling could last forever, unable to imagine her school life without Haruto anymore. Her heart is filled with joy, and she feels as though she is floating through days that seem almost dreamlike. During lunch one day, Wakaba brings 3 bento boxes and invites Haruto's friends, Shun and Ryochi, to join them. The group sits together, enjoying their meal under the gentle warmth of the sun. Shun and Ryochi can't hide their envy, joking about how lucky Haruto is to have such a capable and thoughtful girlfriend. Their playful teasing only makes Wakaba blush, but she feels a swell of pride at the same time. The conversation shifts to Haruto's recent birthday, and he expresses his gratitude for the thoughtful gifts his friends have given him. Shun and Ryochi beam at Haruto's happiness, feeling pleased that their efforts have been appreciated. However, Wakaba's smile falters. She is slightly annoyed because Haruto hasn't told her about his birthday beforehand. When she asks why he hasn't mentioned it, Haruto sheepishly admits that he doesn't want to seem like he is fishing for gifts. Wakaba's frustration, however, isn't about the gift. She wants to celebrate his birthday and make it special for him. Haruto, sensing her disappointment, quickly assures her that she has already given him the most precious gift, her love. His candid words make Wakaba's heart race, and a soft smile returns to her lips. Haruto adds that he appreciates how Wakaba no longer uses formal language with him. Wakaba, slightly taken aback, insists that she has already stopped speaking formally. But Haruto, ever playful, challenges her to speak casually in front of Shun and Ryochi. Embarrassed, Wakaba hesitates, feeling self-conscious about dropping her usual polite tone in front of others. Seeing her flustered expression, Haruto can't help but tease her further, saying that he loves her even more when she is shy. Wakaba, red-faced, threatens to stop talking to him if he continues to be so mischievous. Haruto responds with a heartfelt gaze, confessing his love for her once again. Their intimate moment doesn't go unnoticed. Shun and Ryochi can't help but feel a pang of jealousy as they watch the couple's affectionate exchange. They teasingly call them lovebirds before excusing themselves, leaving Haruto and Wakaba to enjoy each other's company in peace. That evening at Wakaba's home, she has dinner with her family, her father, mother, and younger sister, Futaba. As they eat, her parents notice a change in Wakaba's demeanor. She seems unusually cheerful, a radiant smile never leaving her face. Her mother, curious, asks what has made Wakaba so happy. Wakaba, not wanting to reveal the true reason, attributes her joy to the delicious meal her mother has prepared. But her parents aren't convinced. They sense there is more to Wakaba's happiness than she is letting on. After dinner, Wakaba excuses herself and returns to her room. Futaba, aware of their parents' concerns, decides to check on her sister. She enters Wakaba's room and closes the door behind her. Futaba, always perceptive, knows that Wakaba's happiness is linked to her time with Haruto. She asks Wakaba about her day, prompting her to open up about her feelings. Wakaba recounts her recent days at school, particularly the moments she shares with Haruto. She speaks fondly of his playful teasing and how it always manages to brighten her day. Futaba listens intently, sharing in Wakaba's joy. But her curiosity soon gets the better of her. She asks Wakaba how she has fallen so deeply in love with someone like Haruto, who doesn't seem to fit her usual criteria. Wakaba pauses, reflecting on her relationship. She admits that Haruto's appearance isn't what initially draws her to him. Instead, it is his kindness, his selflessness, and his ability to make those around him laugh and feel at ease. Wakaba explains that being with Haruto makes her heart race in a way she has never experienced before. His presence fills her days with light and happiness, and it is these qualities that make her fall for him so deeply. Futaba, touched by Wakaba's heartfelt explanation, can't help but feel a pang of jealousy. She expresses her desire to have a boyfriend who can make her feel the same way. But she is also curious about how Wakaba and Haruto's relationship has begun. Wakaba hesitates, remembering that it all started with Nane's suggestion that she confess to Haruto. However, she chooses not to reveal this detail to Futaba, fearing it might tarnish the sincerity of their relationship. As Wakaba sits in her room that night, a sense of unease washes over her. She finds herself thinking about Nanes and how she hasn't been bothered by her lately. The thought makes her uneasy, but she pushes it aside, focusing instead on her schoolwork and her relationship with Haruto. The next day, Wakaba has an English test. Thanks to Haruto's help, she feels confident and prepared. She can't wait to see him during lunch, and give him the bento she has made. As she thinks about his reaction, a smile spreads across her face. But her day takes an unexpected turn when Nanace and her friends approach her during a break. They tease Wakaba, noticing her happiness and accusing her of mocking them. Wakaba, trying to maintain her composure, explains that she is simply thinking about Haruto. But Nanace doesn't believe her and grows angry, lashing out at Wakaba. Yajima, observing the scene from a distance, feels sorry for Wakaba but is hesitant to intervene. After berating Wakaba, Nanace and her friends walk away, leaving Wakaba feeling unsettled. Despite the encounter, a message from Haruto soon lifts her spirits, reminding her of the happiness she feels when she is with him. Yet, a lingering sense of unease remains. As the lunch bell rings, Wakaba eagerly makes her way to Haruto's classroom, only to find it empty except for Ryochi. He greets her with a mischievous grin, mentioning that he has told Haruto she won't be coming to lunch. Confused and worried, Wakaba asks what he means. Ryochi, with a knowing look, suggests they talk privately and leads her to the rooftop. His cryptic remarks about a game leave Wakaba anxious and unsure of what he knows. As they climb the stairs, Wakaba's mind races, trying to anticipate what Ryochi will say. Her heart pounds in her chest as she prepares to face the unexpected. Wakaba is called onto the rooftop by Ryochi. Amidst the noise of the students chatting, her heart is pounding. Her steps are heavy as she climbs each step towards the rooftop. Her breath is ragged, her trembling hands are holding the railing. Did she really forget something so important? The reason why she started going out with Haruto. The image of the shattered compact mirror appears in her mind, along with the 3 students in class who always bully her. No, Wakaba didn't forget. She actually does remember it. She has an understanding of it all, in some corner of her heart. But she wants to believe that it is all a lie, because the days she spent with Haruto were full of happiness. She can feel it from the bottom of her heart, that she doesn't want to lose all of it, no matter what. Clinging onto Haruto like a real girlfriend would, and stringing his innocent, happy self along, even as she is deceiving him, the person who she loves so much all this time. Without her realizing, now the rooftop door is right in front of her. Her hands are still shaking as she reaches for the doorknob and holds it. She knows that she is in the wrong, that everything that's happened is her fault. But at this point, no matter how much she regrets it, it's never going to be enough. Because the sins of her past have finally caught up to her. She turns the doorknob and opens the door. A strong wind blows against her face, blowing her hair away. The bright sky greets her, making her close her eyes. Ryuchi leans against the rooftop fence made of wire mesh. He glances at Wakaba with a sharp gaze, as if he doesn't like what he sees. Ryuchi turns around to face Wakaba. He apologizes to Wakaba for calling her up to the rooftop when it's cold outside. Wakaba seems agitated, as if she wants to explain something, but Ryuchi is in control of the conversation. He says that he'll just get straight to the point. He asks Wakaba if a game consisting of preparing a fake confession with Haruto as a target, and then later revealing it to him, to completely break down his pride really exists. Wakaba lowers her head, gripping her skirt tightly, and then nods slightly. Ryuchi then asks if she is part of the game. Wakaba gasps, her body shaking violently as she admits that she is involved. Knowing this very messy truth, Ryuchi lets out a heavy sigh and scratches his head. His eyes are closed, his forehead is furrowed, implying how he hates the situation. Wakaba is still looking down, trembling. There is no reason to hide anything anymore, so Wakaba tells Ryuchi everything. About how she became the target of bullying among her classmates after entering the school. About how she broke the compact mirror and was forced into participating in this punishment game. About how, because of that, she deceives everyone, even Haruto. Ryuchi seems to not really care about Wakaba's explanation. He tells Wakaba to stop screwing around with him. He is clenching his own hand tightly, trying to hold back his anger as best as he can, which he seems to fail and yells at Wakaba, telling her not to get Haruto involved in her worthless game. He calls Wakaba and everyone involved in the game pieces of shit out of rage. Wakaba flinches upon being yelled at by Ryuchi. Frustrated, Ryuchi takes a deep breath and apologizes for yelling. He says that he completely understands Wakaba's situation now. The first instance was when Date asked Kuju Kanami for advice. Her friends are apparently in Wakaba's class. They went around asking Date and his friends whether they'd notice anything strange or if they knew anything about it. As they were thinking about it, the rumor of the game came to light. The first time Ryuichi heard about it, he never expected Wakaba to be involved in it as well. But during break time earlier, he had some business in one of the classrooms, so he was crossing through the back of the school building when he heard Nana's and some other chicks' voices. She told him that Wakaba was the one behind it all, that she even came up with the whole plan. The proof being that Wakaba seemed to be having so much fun dating Haruto. Wakaba, who is slandered by her bully, tries to defend herself and says that it is not true. Ryuichi has to question the information given to him by some unknown chick. But he figured that what she told him would explain Wakaba's actions as well. No matter how you look at it, a girl like Wakaba who's good at taking care of people, confessing to someone like Haruto, who's probably the least popular with girls, is definitely suspicious. Now that he thinks about it, there was something wrong with the atmosphere of Class 4 back then. As if angry with himself, he shouts that if it was Shun who had been there at the time, he would have noticed it way sooner. However, Ryuichi feels what Wakaba is saying is probably true as well. He thinks even he can understand that the way Wakaba has been acting until now resembles him a lot, the way he was when he first met Haruto. Even so, it doesn't change the fact that Wakaba deceived him. Wakaba agrees. The reality of her deceiving Haruto, the person she loves dearly, won't change. It won't disappear just like that. A boy who was cheerful, kind and listened to every whim of her with a smile on his face, he'll be gone. Panicking because she realizes that Haruto will be deeply hurt if he finds out the truth, Wakaba begs Ryuichi not to tell Haruto. Ryuichi snaps and exclaims loudly that there is no way he can tell him while he knows that Haruto is really in love with Wakaba. After dates, after finishing his lunch during break, Haruto would talk about how wonderful and kind Wakaba was, so much so that it was starting to get really annoying. Ryuichi doesn't know what they were, but Haruto even said that Wakaba would make his dream come true. Haruto said that with his usual side, who's always happy and in high spirits. Wakaba is unable to talk. She knows right away what dream Haruto was talking about. She covers her mouth, still trembling and shivering. Ryuichi apologizes for not being able to keep his cool completely since Wakaba is also a victim. But since he now knows the truth, it's time to put an end to this shitty, rotten excuse of a game. In a menacing tone of voice, Ryuichi says he'll make everyone who made Haruto go through this have a taste of hell. He doesn't care if he gets expelled from school. He'll also submit a notice of his leave from the soccer club as well. For Ryuichi, those rotten geezers like his dad and grandfather really messed up Haruto's family's fate. After all this is over, he'll take over the family business. His relatives won't ever go near them again, and he won't let them. From the beginning, he feels like someone like him was never meant to be a part of Haruto's and Shun's life. It was a good opportunity, only for a short while, but he was able to enjoy his school life, and this is enough for him. Ryuichi says he has no intention of doing or saying anything more to Wakaba. He just tells her to keep acting around Haruto like she normally does. But if she ever tells him about this and still decides to go out with him, then Wakaba is breaking down even before Ryuichi completes his sentence. That's impossible. There is no way she can do it. She won't be able to smile in front of him anymore. And Haruto would definitely get worried seeing her like that, but she can't tell him the reason no matter what. So, she'll have to lie to him, and it'll become a never-ending cycle of deceiving him. Wakaba realizes that this is her punishment, the most effective one for her. Buried by the thoughts of the never-ending deceiving cycle, Wakaba is trembling even more. Ryuichi definitely knows what he is doing. He sees how Wakaba is trembling just from him pressuring her a bit. They both know that this is impossible, therefore, Ryuichi tells Wakaba to not come near them, and near Haruto ever again. He'll have her remain with Haruto until the game ends, for sure, as a punishment game from him. Wakaba realizes she made a mistake again. She always realizes it only after it's too late. She'll only ever be able to cause Haruto and the people around him nothing but trouble. Ryuichi tells Wakaba to not stop him, since he's not killing them or sending them to the hospital. He threatens her that if she tries speaking about this to someone else, he won't show any mercy even if it's her, and she'll never get to meet Haruto again. Ryuichi is walking towards the door, and when he's right next to Wakaba, he lets her know that he hates lies. He also reminds her that she took part in something of this degree, so she carries a part of the blame for it as well. Ryuichi finally leaves, and Wakaba breaks down even more. The thing she fears the most is now really happening. She stumbles, staggers, then falls onto the floor. In the end, she only values herself. She's more afraid of hurting herself than hurting others. Even now, she wishes from the bottom of her heart that Haruto doesn't come to hate her. It's taking everything she has to not scream from the top of her lungs when she thinks about how she can never see Haruto's smile again. She's different from Haruto, who's like the sun. She's like a rain cloud, melancholy and gloomy. Losing her mind, Wakaba starts to laugh, then crying her eyes out. It is no use anymore. It is all over now. Tears are dripping down. She screams in pain, apologizing to Haruto. And without her knowing, Haruto is also there on the rooftop. He has been listening to everything from the beginning. And now he's also crying hard, in silence, and can't believe the situation they are in. Wakaba is walking down the stairs. Her body is trembling after Ryuichi confronts her about the game. Next to the stairs, she sees Kuju Kanami and Yajima Ruri from her class. Seems like Yajima has something bothering her. Her childlike figure is complaining of how much of a worrywart Kanami is. In the middle of their conversation, Kanami realizes Wakaba is there on the stairs. Kanami asks what Wakaba is doing there, which surprises Yajima that they know each other. Kanami then asks again if Wakaba perhaps has a fight with Haruto, but Wakaba doesn't say anything. Now she mentions how Ryuichi came down the stairs a while ago. He was muttering about something under his breath. Kanami thinks she heard something like how he was going to do something to Nanase. Knowing that two of her friends have a slight idea of what is going on, Wakaba immediately runs to escape them both. The school bell has rung. The school is over. Yajima is approaching Wakaba when suddenly Nanase comes to talk to her too. She tells her that it's almost time to tell Haruto that their relationship was a lie all along. Yajima, who is between them, grabs Nanase and tells her not to force Wakaba to do such things anymore. Nanase is not happy. She tells Yajima to shut up and not play the good girl card now. She says Yajima doesn't have the right to ask her that, especially since she has been keeping quiet all this time. After pushing Yajima away, Nanase is back with Wakaba. She plays with Wakaba's hair and tells Wakaba to thank her for letting her finish this play pretend with the fat pig. That moment, Wakaba realizes that it was Nanase's fault to begin with. If she hadn't said something like that, Haruto could have still kept the peace he had before meeting Wakaba. Wakaba finally loses control and yells at Nanase to not give her that crap. This was all because Nanase told her to do such things. Now Haruto is hurt. She grabs Nanase, then screams out how she can't tell him the truth, and she no longer has the right to say she likes him anymore. Nanase doesn't understand what Wakaba is saying. She thought Wakaba was lying to Haruto as well. Nanase tells Wakaba that she is in this with her, that they're accomplices. Releasing her grip from Nanase, Wakaba walks back wobbly. In her mind, she agrees with what Nanase said, that they are accomplices. Wakaba turns around then walks out of the class. She comes to Haruto's class, but one of the date brothers says Haruto had some business to take care of at home, so he left school early. Wakaba then checks her phone, then realizes that Haruto has informed her as well via messages. When she is about to leave, one of the date brothers talks to her. He says Haruto is kind of an idiot at times, a pervert if not an idiot. And at first he may seem like he's unreliable, but he's actually a really good guy. So that's why he asks her to continue to be lenient with him, because Haruto really likes her. He apologizes for saying such weird things, and he asks her to take care of Haruto. Wakaba suddenly screams out loud, as if she's in terror. She runs back home, and when she arrives, she is panting and drenched in sweat. However, her mother suddenly mentions how her sister has told her about how she got herself a pretty good boyfriend. Her father even came home running all the way from the company in panic. Her mother warmly says that today she'll prepare the food that Wakaba likes, so they can talk about Haruto, especially how they got together in the first place. Clearly not expecting how the whole family now knows, and even wants to know about Haruto, Wakaba screams, telling them to shut up. She is panting and shivering. The family is in panic. Her sister apologizes because she thought it was fine to tell the family about Haruto that much. Her father is trying to calm her down and asking her what is wrong. But instead, Wakaba tells them that she hates them. Then she runs upstairs to her room. After slamming the door, she slumps onto the floor behind the door. She ran away from her classmates, from Haruto's friends, and now she ran away from her precious family. She cries in pain, begging Haruto to help her. She sees Haruto from the back. She tries to hold him, but Haruto slaps her hand, telling her that he knows she lied to him all this time. It must have been a lot of fun to watch an ugly, unattractive, creepy guy getting all worked up and excited. Furious, Haruto turns around and says that a miserable bitch like her should never come near him again. Then he leaves her just like that. Wakaba is screaming, telling him that she'll change and fix all of her bad traits. She'll even let him kiss and let him do all the perverted things he wants. She is begging and begging him to not hate her, when suddenly she wakes up from her sleep. The winds blow to the curtain. It was a dream, and it is morning already. Wakaba fell asleep sitting behind the door, still wearing her uniform from yesterday. She tries to stand up and gets out of her room. She has to go to school and talk to Haruto. Outside, she meets her sister, who then asks her about what is happening. Wakaba tells her there is no need to raise her voice, and there is nothing to worry about. Her sister doesn't believe it. She thinks it is because she spilled beans about her and Haruto that she got angry. Not getting any answer. Now she thinks Haruto did something awful to Wakaba. Wakaba loudly says no and says it isn't Haruto's fault. Out of rage, Wakaba tells her sister that someone like her will never understand. Someone who's cheerful and has lots of friends. Unlike a gloomy woman like her, Futaba always seems to be having fun. Wakaba says Futaba doesn't know anything about what she's going through, and tells her to just leave her alone. This is not what Wakaba intended to say, and yet, she is unable to stop her ranting. Futaba is in shock. She just stands there, tears well up in her eyes. She quietly asks Wakaba if that is what she thinks of her. The parents downstairs seem to hear the noises and realize that Wakaba is awake. They are coming to her, but Wakaba immediately runs, leaving her sister crying. After running out of the house, Wakaba stops to catch some breath. Her phone suddenly rings, and there's a text from Haruto, asking to meet at the usual place behind the school building to talk about something. He says she can come whenever she wants, and he'll be waiting for her. Wakaba comes to the school, and she sees Haruto there. With a calm face and a calm voice, Haruto tells her that he heard everything. Haruto tells her that there is no need to hide it anymore. He already knows that her confession was a lie. He continues to say now that he thinks about it, he didn't really understand what she was thinking about when they started going out. A glimpse of her dream comes to Wakaba's mind. She chokes and starts trembling. Wakaba is trying to talk to Haruto, but Haruto says now that he knows what's going on, he asks her to continue the game. He puts on his bright smile as he says that. Wakaba can't believe what she just heard. She comes forward to Haruto, asking if he really understands what he is doing. He says he is fully aware of it. He also tells her that he was on the roof as well. Ryuichi told him he had something urgent to do and left to go somewhere. He was thinking of inviting Shun or the date siblings to the cafeteria, but saw Ryuichi went to the rooftop even though it was cold as hell. So he decided to follow him since he was free anyway. While laughing, Haruto says he didn't really want to eavesdrop, but that's what happened. Wakaba doesn't get how Haruto is able to keep laughing like that. If he really did hear the conversation, shouldn't he be mad at her? In the middle of her thinking, Haruto bows, asking Wakaba to not bear a grudge against Ryuichi, as he may have come off as being rude, but he only did it for him. Haruto is sure Ryuichi has put a lot of thought into this and must have just lost his nerve. Wakaba says she could never hold a grudge against Ryuichi. Hearing that, Haruto smiles beamingly. He says it's great since he was really worried about it. He also adds that although he did say they'd continue the game, they won't be doing it like those girls want them to, so Wakaba doesn't have to worry. He has got a plan for it too. He also tells Wakaba that there are also people they can rely on, so she doesn't have to worry about anything at all. Seeing Haruto's smile makes all the anxiety Wakaba had felt earlier seem to have vanished into thin air. She's starting to feel like a fool for worrying about it. When she looks down, she catches the sight of the damp soil around Haruto's feet. It didn't rain yesterday or even this morning, so she wonders why it is only that spot that is damp. The truth comes striking to her. She now notices the sweats, the trembling from Haruto's body. Haruto keeps saying that it's okay, and he's not angry at all, that for someone like him who's got an iron heart and thick subcutaneous fat, this kind of thing is no big deal. He is trying to say how he thought it was a little weird from the start anyways, but he is trembling even more. In the end, he is not able to call Wakaba by her first name anymore. Instead, he keeps calling her by her last name, Asahina-san. Haruto can't stop talking, as if it's his coping mechanism. He says there is no way a girl as pretty as Asahina-san would come to like someone like him. He says he feels embarrassed and ashamed for getting so excited. His confidence plummets down. He says it must have been hard for her to have to go out with a creepy, fat otaku like him. He apologizes for not noticing it sooner. Wakaba is trying to stop him from talking, but she fails. Haruto keeps talking even though he clearly doesn't look fine. He says they'll continue the game, but just in front of them, and they don't have to be together when they're not watching. He is begging her to cheer up and smile. Wakaba is wondering why she never noticed that Haruto was single-mindedly concerned only about her. She confronts him, asking him to tell her the reason why he went through all that trouble for her. Wakaba says how she has been deceiving him, then asks how could he let such a devious, dirty girl. Then she gasps. She suddenly gets the answer herself, when she remembers what Ryuichi and Date said, that Haruto is really in love with her. Overwhelmed by guilt, Wakaba screams. Haruto asks her what the matter is. She tells him to stop, he doesn't have to do anything for her anymore. Wakaba is panting, she is out of breath. She has come to realize what it was that she feared the most. It wasn't getting rebuked by Haruto or being hated by him. He held it all in to keep Wakaba from worrying about her. And because of her, his sunny smile has turned cloudy. She's scared of not being able to see that smile again, the one she fell in love with. While in panic of what she has done, Wakaba sees her reflection on the school's window. She stares at her blank, deep, pitch-black, evil eyes. She is hallucinating. She starts seeing her reflection saying bad things to her. How a woman like her isn't worthy of him, and she doesn't have the right to fall in love with him. Unable to process all the things that's going on, Wakaba starts screaming again, this time full of terror. Haruto is panicked. Wakaba is crying and keeps saying she's sorry, and sorry repeatedly like she has gone mad. Then she suddenly stops and starts throwing up. Even when vomiting, she's still trying to say she's sorry. Haruto is in shock. He holds Wakaba and tells her to stop talking. He asks her to calm down. Wakaba stops for a moment. She looks into Haruto's eyes and continues to say she is sorry, but fails as she falls unconscious. Haruto panics. He doesn't want this. He just wanted Wakaba to keep smiling. Wakaba lets go of her consciousness, yielding herself to a sense of security she hadn't felt in a long time. Wakaba is brought to the infirmary. Haruto is asking the teacher if she is going to be alright. Wakaba slowly gains her consciousness. She can see a Haruto between the gap of the curtains. The teacher tells him to calm down and says that judging by the looks, Wakaba seems to have suffered a great mental shock. She asks him what exactly happened, but Haruto just mutters, unable to explain. Seeing it might be complicated, the teacher just pats on Haruto's shoulder and tells him that what Wakaba needs now is to rest. She tells him to return to class, but Haruto says he wants to stay by Wakaba's side until she wakes up. He asks for permission to leave as soon as Wakaba opens her eyes. The teacher seems to understand, so she gives him permission and she'll explain the matter to his homeroom teacher. Suddenly, the phone is ringing and the teacher is summoned to treat someone from the kendo club who just got injured. She tells Haruto to just call her on her personal cell phone if anything happens. When she's about to leave, she says to Haruto that the human heart is something that can become extremely fragile and weak at times, especially in the case of kids his age who are between the state of adulthood and childhood. It may not seem important from the perspective of other people, but even a simple comment could hurt and bother. The only thing the teachers can do is to aid kids as much as possible. She can't say something arrogant such as claiming to be able to save the hearts, so he must learn and use it as nourishment, especially if there is a girl he holds very dearly. The teacher says she is sure Haruto will be able to understand what she's talking about. While smiling and walking out of the infirmary, she tells Haruto to make sure he doesn't have any regrets. Wakaba, who has been listening for quite some time, gets up. She reaches for the curtain and calls out for Haruto. Haruto is surprised knowing she has woken up. Sitting on the bed, Wakaba is holding her blanket and apologizes for causing Haruto trouble. Haruto is concerned. He tells her not to get up since she has to rest for a while. Wakaba says Haruto is really one of a kind, for still being considerate to someone like her. She doesn't have the right to remain by Haruto's side anymore. That's why she tells Haruto to make this the last time they meet. Wakaba says if she hadn't taken part in a stupid game like that, everything wouldn't have turned into such a big mess. Haruto tries to explain something, but Wakaba doesn't let him. Wakaba is thinking to make it as if nothing happened. The Haruto fell in love with never existed from the start. The girl named Asahina Wakaba, who exists inside of Haruto, is most certainly kind, lovely, and doesn't deceive people or hurt them. She must be a wonderful girl and completely different from what she is actually like. Obviously lying, Wakaba says to be frank that she was never in love with Haruto. She says she only kept up the appearance because she was being threatened to do so. Then she gets up from the bed, walking away, while saying goodbye to Iruma-kun. With this, everything will end. This stupid game, as well as her love. When Wakaba is reaching for the door, she can hear Haruto laughing maniacally. It makes her flinch. Haruto bursts to laugh, saying this is ridiculous. Haruto confronts her, saying she is being too selfish to say whatever she wants and casts him aside with a goodbye. He continues to laugh, smacking at the table, mimicking what Wakaba said earlier. Haruto asks her in the first place what she was planning to do after parting ways with a goodbye. He is sure she must be saying that without thinking, and he can't say that he's surprised. Wakaba is blushing and suddenly gets ashamed of what she did. She replies how she doesn't want to do something like this, but she doesn't have many choices. Frantically, she says she has given Haruto and Ryochi a really hard time. She even said horrible things to her family. There is nothing that can be done anymore. Letting out a sigh, Haruto continues to tease Wakaba. He calls her a troubled young lady who became completely intoxicated with herself. And this is what she gets? Wakaba freezes, unable to respond. Haruto says out loud that there is no way he won't get angry after being deceived, even though he was planning to do this, and that to her to his heart's content, showing a naughty gesture of hands. Wakaba screams in panic, only to hear Haruto continue acting crazy while telling her not to look down on the brimming pathos of a youthful boy. While clenching his fists, he even says how she won't get smitten for at least letting him cop a feel. Wakaba is blushing red. She calls Haruto an overweight pervert Ero Manju. Haruto doesn't just accept it. He doesn't admit that he's overweight. He's just plump. Starting to get angry as well, Wakaba shoves herself towards Haruto and says how she can get angry when she has to. She also is not done talking yet either. She starts talking about one of their dates when they suddenly realize the quarrel has brought them really close, on the infirmary bed. Haruto is smiling, seeing Wakaba has finally returned to being her usual self. Wakaba blushes as Haruto gets back up. He says she has always had the habit of holding everything back. He tells her to not worry, because everything until now was a joke. He continues to say it'd really be a big problem if she went away somewhere before he could explain the important stuff to her. While reaching for something inside his pocket, Haruto tells Wakaba to hold out her hand. Suddenly there is a compact mirror on her hand, the same one like she broke before. Haruto smiles, telling her to think of it as an early Christmas present. After all this time, Wakaba always thought the mirror was from a foreign brand. However, Haruto says this thing is not a branded item or anything, and just a trinket he got from a geezer on the roadside for 1,000 yen. Wakaba is shocked upon hearing the truth. Haruto then says that the geezer was the owner of a plastic model shop. Wakaba immediately remembers seeing it dangling from his neck. Haruto is angry, saying how those bitches were making this out to be a branded item and was deceiving Wakaba from the start. Wakaba is asking him how he managed to get the mirror. He just smiles, saying he had people he could count on, and that's all she needs to know. With this mirror, Wakaba is acquitted of all charges. Wakaba blushes again. Since a weight has been lifted off her shoulders, Haruto invites Wakaba to discuss the specifics of what they can do from now on. According to Haruto, even if they end the game right now, if they stop right away, Wakaba will start being bullied again. That's why they have to prolong it as much as possible. They can make excuses and cancel dates on the day itself, and spend lunch break in the classroom whenever they can. Since the class reps know what's happening as well, it's going to be fine, and they can just wait for those bullies to give up. That way, they can wait it out until the class changes. Afterwards, they can drop a hint to the teacher in charge of their school year. That way, the teacher won't even think about putting them in the same class as those girls. So, Haruto tells Wakaba to not worry about it. While smiling, Haruto says that no matter what happens, he will be on her side. Wakaba blushes more. It's no use. Wakaba is really irrevocably in love with Haruto. He has already done so much for her sake. While holding the compact mirror, Wakaba is thinking if it is really okay for her to let Haruto resolve the bullying as well. To be honest, Wakaba doesn't think this is a good idea to rely on Haruto all the time. But in that moment, Wakaba suddenly remembers Haruka's question about her special person. She closes her eyes, then calls Haruto. She looks at him, then thanking him for looking out for her so much. But she says she deceived him, so she can't allow a game like that to continue ever again. Haruto is worried. He doesn't want Wakaba to get bullied again. However, Wakaba says she has a better alternative in mind. Haruto asks her what the better alternative is, and suddenly Wakaba brings herself closer to Haruto and kisses him on the lips. Haruto blushes, and so does Wakaba. She says in front of Haruto's flushed face that if they can't lie about it, then they'll just have to make it the truth. Haruto is flustered. His face is steaming red, and he starts to speak in inaudible words. When they both have calmed down, Wakaba says she kept doing terrible things to Haruto, and she can't just sweep them under the rug. Haruto may not believe her, but Wakaba says to him that she loves him. Then she asks him to go out with her once more. Hearing what Wakaba just said, Haruto bursts into tears. His face gets reddened, and says that he loves her too, while bringing her into his arms. He asks her to stay with him forever, and they kiss again. While hugging Wakaba, Haruto tells her she doesn't have to carry the burden all by herself anymore. If it becomes painful or difficult, just tell them. It's time for her to stop worrying by herself. Haruto says that right now, she can cry to her heart's content. Hearing those words, all the pains she has been holding up until now, flowing down through her tears. Ever since she joined this school, and as far as she can remember, that was the first time she had cried as loud as she could, as much as she could. After their honest confession, Asahina Wakaba and Iruma Haruto are back together as lovers. While Wakaba is still in Haruto's arms, a sudden roar breaks the silence. In front of the infirmary, Nanace and her two followers are seen running with panicked faces, as if being chased by ghosts. However, the figure chasing them is Namikawa. While running in a hurry, Shuji falls right in front of the door to the infirmary. Namikawa immediately catches Shuji by pulling the back collar of her shirt. Wakaba, curious about the commotion outside, steps out. She is surprised to see Namikawa sternly ordering Shuji to apologize. Although the entire Nanace group should be responsible, only Shuji is caught, so she is the one who has to apologize to Wakaba. Shortly after, Haruto follows Wakaba out, with Ryoichi also joining the crowd. They explain that on their way to visit Wakaba, they cross paths with Nanace and her followers. When they try to greet them in a sarcastic tone because of what they did to Wakaba, Nanace and her group run away without explanation. In the ensuing discussion, Namikawa and Ryoichi begin to uncover the foul plans that Nanace and her followers have carried out against Wakaba. Using their intelligence and the data they collect, they start revealing the identities of the perpetrators who oppress Wakaba. Namikawa hands a list of names to Haruto, who quickly realizes that the names are from Wakaba's classmates. However, Nanace and Shuji's names are not on the list. Namikawa explains that the list contains the signatures of Wakaba's classmates, and they will be asked to work together to expose the crimes of Nanace Ikumi's trio. Initially, many are reluctant to help, but Namikawa applies pressure by threatening to spread their bad records at school and on social media. With evidence of hidden account logs obtained through the help of Date Ryuji and Ryoichi, their involvement becomes undeniable. Namikawa also prepares additional evidence in the form of video recordings as a precaution in case Nanace trio continues to deny the allegations. Finally, Namikawa decides to hand over all the evidence to the teachers or families of the perpetrators. He believes this step will corner the Nanace trio completely. With strong evidence in his possession, Namikawa ensures they will face the consequences of their actions. Their crimes can no longer be covered up. Every word Namikawa speaks makes Wakaba tremble. Namikawa's plan seems so cruel to the Nanace trio that it makes Wakaba cringe. Even Ryoichi, who joins the conversation, sarcastically calls the Nanace trio pathetic scum for overreacting to the situation. Haruto, who listens to everything, feels that worry is more appropriate for the Nanace trio than for Wakaba. The mystery behind Nanace panicked running around is finally answered. In his mutterings, Ryoichi says that he wouldn't be surprised if the Nanace trio pees their pants due to this situation. Hearing that, Haruto immediately reprimands Ryoichi, disgusted by his rude comments. However, Ryoichi angrily defends himself, saying that he is just trying to express his anger without intending to make it really physical. The petty argument between Haruto and Ryoichi continues. Haruto criticizes Ryoichi for always speaking harshly and excessively, reminding him that it's that kind of trait that makes Yui often feel sad. However, Ryoichi denies it vehemently, saying that this problem has nothing to do with Yui. Although they continue to insinuate each other, the debate at each of their meetings shows how the two have accepted each other as friends. Seeing that, The initially tense Wakaba smiles slightly, amused by the way they interact. In the midst of their debate, Ryuji approaches Wakaba. He carries a tablet and advises Wakaba to stay away from Haruto for a while, so as not to cause a scene. Afterwards, Wakaba puts on a headset and listens to the video recording played by Ryuji. Ryuji explains that the video is a form of his goodwill to make amends for his past mistakes of being mean to Wakaba. He hopes the video can make Wakaba feel better. Wakaba is surprised to hear the contents of the recording. Ryuji then explains that the recording was taken during lunch yesterday in class. In the recording, Namikawa, Ryoichi Izuka, Koju, and Yajima are all present. Ryuji claims to have seen Yajima talking to Shun in the hallway, mentioning that there is something important about Wakaba. Finding Yajima's behavior suspicious, Ryuji decides to record the conversation as evidence. During lunch, Ryuji also crosses paths with Yajima and Shun before they go to Haruto's class. Ryuji adds that the twin mirrors Haruto gives to Wakaba are actually items Yajima buys at Shitaraju Station. This fact adds a new puzzle, and Wakaba begins to realize how many secrets are hidden behind the smiles and silence around her. Yajima finally reveals the secret she is hiding, leaving Wakaba both shocked and deeply saddened. In the video recording, Yajima confesses that she was the one who first bought the compact mirror. She mentions that it was a cheap item with a cute design, but broke when she accidentally dropped it. After that, Nane said that she would buy the mirror for 500 yen, and Yajima sold it. With a trembling voice and unstoppable tears, Yajima admits that she had no idea that the mirror would be used for the game that eventually led to Wakaba's oppression. She states softly that all the blame stems from her, not Wakaba. Yajima feels guilty for buying and dropping the mirror, which then triggered a series of bad events. Hearing that confession, Ryoichi seems to lose control. He kicks the table with a violent motion, making Yajima even more frightened. Izuka quickly grabs the hand of Ryoichi, who starts to step closer to Yajima, trying to stop him. She tries to calm Ryoichi down, reminding him that anger won't solve anything. However, Ryoichi shouts in a high tone, mentioning that Wakaba has deceived Haruto, and that is unforgivable. Even though Yajima is the original cause of this mess, Ryoichi's anger is still directed at Wakaba. With clenched fists, he pounds the table, making the atmosphere even more tense. His friends immediately try to calm him down, holding his shoulders and reassuring him that Wakaba is actually being threatened by the other party. They ask him not to be rash. Ryoichi does not give up. In a loud voice, he accuses Wakaba of only pretending to get along with Haruto, while behind his back, she is playing a cruel game. Ryoichi's anger peaks as he vows never to forgive Nanace and her group, not even Wakaba. Wakaba, on the other hand, hears the confession in the video while holding back tears. Her head bows, and her tears continue to flow freely. With a trembling voice and full of guilt, Wakaba admits that Ryoichi is right. She feels it is inappropriate to consider herself a victim, because all those who consider her a friend must have felt betrayed. She is sure Namikawa, despite his apparent calm, feels the same way. She realizes that even if Haruto forgives her, it won't be the end of the world. The overwhelming guilt continues to haunt her. In the midst of the tension-filled atmosphere, the video suddenly shows the sound of people calling Haruto's name in unison. Wakaba is silent for a moment, stunned in the midst of her crying. Haruto is then heard speaking up, stating that he has heard it all. The atmosphere instantly changes, and a hush falls over the video, as one of them exclaims that the people playing Haruto have to stop. Izuka again tries to calm the increasingly heated atmosphere. However, in the midst of the noise, Haruto, with a firm step, approaches Shun. In a loud voice, he asks how to save Wakaba. Haruto looks at Shun with a gentle gaze, a gesture he only shows when thinking about Wakaba. Shun explains that the first step to solving the problem is to find a similar compact mirror. Since Yajima bought it from a street vendor, they need to look for it in the same place. Shun also invites Haruto to go after school. However, Yajima responds with a sigh, saying she has tried looking for the mirror everywhere, both in accessory stores and online, but has been unsuccessful in finding it. Shun replies that this could happen because street vendors usually move frequently. Yajima suggests proving that she is the original buyer of the mirror, but Shun firmly states that it won't work. He emphasizes that they need to find a similar mirror, if possible, or at least locate the seller. Yajima then adds confidently that the Nanace trio must have disposed of the mirror. Kuju suddenly suggests that Yajima remember the seller's description, as they could probably ask people around other stations. Although finding the mirror seems impossible, they are determined to try. Shun quickly devises a plan, deciding to go to the station and look for clues. However, before he can finish his sentence, the Date twins interrupt him with shocking news. They have found information about the mirror seller. Everyone is surprised. Showing the tablet, Ryuji explains that the seller does move around a lot, just as Shun suspected. They even predict that today the seller might be in their neighborhood. Shun praises the Date brothers for their efforts, narrowing down the possibilities so quickly. Haruto is amazed and thanks them. He then invites Ryoichi to look for the seller. Ryoichi, with a guilty tone, asks why he is invited. Haruto just smiles, saying it's because Ryoichi criticized Wakaba, so as a form of accountability, he has to come. Ryoichi cries as guilt washes over him, confessing that he can't stand the situation that hurts Haruto. After a little joking, they agree to go, even if it means skipping class. Before leaving, Haruto asks Shun to take care of the reason for their absence. However, in front of the classroom door, Izuka confronts Haruto. He asks if Haruto really has to act this quickly. Haruto replies that he doesn't have much time left. He understands that Wakaba tends to keep things to herself and blames herself for what happened. Haruto doesn't want to see Wakaba continue to suffer. He continues, recounting his experience of being ostracized in middle school. It makes him determined to ease Wakaba's burden, at least one worry at a time. He knows that if left unchecked, this situation could make them miss out on something important. With a smile, Haruto says he forgives everything and considers his relationship with Wakaba a sweet dream. He then asks the others if they too can forgive Wakaba. Yajima, unable to hold back tears, apologizes that her actions have triggered this problem. Haruto gently says that if Yajima wants to apologize, she should do it to Wakaba, not to him. Haruto also asks Yajima to take good care of Wakaba when she returns to class. Yajima eagerly agrees, promising to fulfill the request. Seeing all that, Kuja mutters that Haruto really is a fool. However, Shun quickly diverts attention by inviting everyone to watch a sports match as part of their plan. Suddenly, everyone agrees. They are really working hard to help Haruto and Wakaba. Wakaba, who watches the video, is filled with emotion and guilt. She has always thought of school as hell, a place where her friends bully and shun her. She is always trapped in painful negative thoughts, even though the reality isn't that bad. When she finally realizes that her friends are actually caring and responsive, her knees buckle, and she falls to her knees sobbing. Wakaba feels foolish for lying to everyone and enduring it all alone. Date Ryuji sees Wakaba sitting on the floor, her face filled with sadness, emotion, and regret. He tries to comfort her by showing her his phone. Ryuji explains that they are tracking down the seller of the mirror they have been looking for. When they fail to find him, the Date twins decide to search for Haruto and the seller together. On their way, they meet a little boy who suddenly approaches after overhearing Haruto's name. The boy tells them that Haruto resembles a Shiromanju, a creature similar to a seal. Ryuji shows a photo of the boy on his phone. Wakaba immediately recognizes him as Taichi and mentions his name. Ryuji suggests Wakaba check her phone, as the boy claims to have sent her several voice messages. Wakaba quickly opens her phone and finds a message from Taichi's father, as well as another from Haruka. With a cheerful expression, Ryuji adds that during the search for the mirror seller, each group accidentally encounters Taichi in different locations. Ryuji then shows Wakaba a photo of her and Haruto, which Haruto had happily uploaded. The photo is shared in their group, and Kanami likes it so much that she begins to cry upon seeing it. Unaccustomed to crying, Kanami's phone slips from her hand. A little girl suddenly retrieves the phone for her and asks if they are Wakaba's friends. Kanami replies affirmatively, saying that they are. Haruka, who also sees the photo, firmly states that she doesn't want Wakaba and Haruto to break up. She whispers to Kanami that she is determined to confess her feelings to the man she likes, adding that she hopes to have a perfect relationship like Wakaba and Haruto. Ryuji continues, recounting how Shun chases after Haruto to the station platform. There, they meet their middle school friend, Aramori, along with a girl named Nida. Nida holds a mirror strikingly similar to the compact mirror they are searching for. She explains that her relative received it from a friend and later gifted it to her. Ryuji expresses his surprise at how deeply Haruto has fallen in love. They exchange the information they have gathered so far, leading to an astonishing revelation: the boy's father is a friend of the mirror maker's uncle. Even more surprising, they successfully track down the location of the mirror seller. The group is amazed by the seemingly coincidental chain of events. However, Ryoichi calmly points out that there are no true coincidences in this world. Every occurrence, whether good or bad, is the result of past actions. The connections between people, no matter how miraculous they may seem, are the culmination of those actions, bringing about moments of significance. Wakaba, moved by the story, asks why everyone is so eager to help her. Ryuji replies that they genuinely enjoy seeing Wakaba and Haruto together. Their happiness is infectious, and helping them feels rewarding. Wakaba then confesses her fears. She had been terrified that her relationship with Haruto would become the target of jokes and ridicule. To shield herself, she pretended to be indifferent, forcing herself to smile falsely in class and beyond. Over time, this facade became a habit. But in truth, everyone admired their relationship not out of malice, but because they saw its sincerity. Ryuji encourages Wakaba to apologize and return to her normal life. Before he can finish, Haruto appears and places a reassuring arm around her shoulder. Smiling warmly, Haruto tells Wakaba that she has the strength to move forward. Wakaba, overwhelmed with emotion, expresses her gratitude to everyone for their support and promises to apologize honestly to those she has wronged. Haruto soothes her, assuring her that they will face everything together. From reconciling with the Nanes trio to confronting her past, reaching out to Taichi and his family, and apologizing to her parents and sister, Haruto pledges to stay by her side. With her cheeks flushed, Wakaba nods, feeling comforted by Haruto's unwavering presence. Overcome with emotion, she clings to Haruto tightly, tears streaming down her face as she finds solace in his embrace. Then several years pass since that day. In a simple yet warm home, Haruto sits beside Wakaba, who is now heavily pregnant. Haruto gently grasps Wakaba's hand and looks at her lovingly. They both smile as they reminisce about the long journey from when they first meet in high school to everything they have been through together. Haruto gently rubs Wakaba's belly, then says, when their child is born, he wants to tell their story. He speaks of the story of the shy girl full of fear, and the man who only wants to see her happy. Their simple but beautiful love story. Wakaba closes her eyes for a moment, her tears flowing softly, not out of sadness, but out of deep gratitude. The past story, full of joys and sorrows, has become a priceless memory. Now they have built a happy new life, with their small family that will soon grow. That day, Haruto and Wakaba prove that sincere love can overcome all obstacles, turn wounds into strength, and make the past the foundation for a brighter future.